Welcome to the Lost Lowdown podcast 188 with your hosts, Claude and Justin.
What's up, guys?
So, we are back continuing our season 6 commentary series with episode 604. Hey, is the teacher here today? Nope. I guess it's the substitute.
Oh no, not the substitute. That
Oh
means it's a
no.
free day, right?
Is it? Or did the teacher leave a lesson
We
plan
don't
for
have
the
to do any. I hope not. The substitute doesn't know how to do it, and we'll
Oh.
say, "No, you're doing it wrong."
We'll make them doubt themselves until they completely are defeated. No different than our normal teacher.
That's the goal. We have to break them
I
down.
hope it's not one of those substitutes who's got a calling for this and really wants to show everybody
Oh
up and like,
no,
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 we're
this is
gonna
the
follow the
worst.
lesson plan.
No, no, we need some weirdo who doesn't really want to
Hmm.
teach, but it's
Exactly.
just
But
like
who heard
looking
this
for a
is
thing to
something to
do
do? Yeah,
on a
exactly.
Tuesday.
Yep. Yep. We want that person. And I think that's might be who we have.
You might be right. You might be right.
Yeah.
I
So
barely I'm a little bit confused about who the substitute even is. I feel like I don't remember.
you're the substitute, Anna
Is
Lucia.
the like is the substitute Locke or is it Ben? Like I feel like I don't remember. The substitute must be Locke,
Uh,
right?
ye- ooh. Well, now I thought I knew, but now
Because
I
I know they're
don't
both
think I
teachers,
know.
right, at this school.
I
But I'm
thought Ben was the substitute. Isn't Ben the new one?
Is Ben? That's why I'm getting confused. Like,
Yeah.
is it Ben who's the substitute, or is it
Well, I
Locke?
guess we'll just have to watch and find
Yeah, we'll
out.
have to find out. We'll have to
Let's let
find
the mystery be until a little bit from now when we discover
out.
the answer.
Yeah, so I mean, the main thing I remember about this is that it continues the trend that they follow for the rest of the season. And by the rest of the season, I guess I mean like this is the only episode where this happens,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, where they do like Man in Black on the island, Lock in the Flash Sideways, just
Mm-hmm.
because it's the same actor. Like that's the only reason
I just
because
had a crazy
they
theory.
have nothing
Oh
to do
my
with each
god.
other, really.
Can I make
Yes,
an aside and ask a question?
sure.
Because I was just remembering that on the previous, in the not the pilot, the first episode of the season, when they're on the plane, Locke tells Boone that he went on the walkabout in Australia, and I
Hmm.
remember thinking, like, he's lying, whatever. But like, because he's in a wheelchair still,
Hmm.
versus like he's telling the truth and they let him go in a wheelchair. Now I was just thinking, like, how do we even know why he's in a wheelchair? Because if the island is underwater in this reality, which means Jacob never influenced them, right?
Hmm.
So did his dad still push him out of the window? Or because I was just thinking, like,
I just remembered. I know the answer.
oh really?
Yeah, you're saying that like jogged my memory because I think we find out the answer in this episode. I could be wrong. Maybe it's a later one, but I think it's
Mm,
this one where that I could tell you if you want to know. I remember what the answer is.
okay. I feel like, yeah, now that you say that, I feel like I remember there being
There
a,
is an answer. There is an
yeah.
answer. And it is connected with the original answer, but it is not the same answer.
Okay. Because I was just thinking there, like, how do we know? Oh, because they're going to tell us. But like, I was just thinking,
We
did he
don't.
maybe he could have gone on the walkabout and he was walking just fine and got hurt on the walkabout, and
Hmm.
that's why he's in a wheelchair. So it's like one of those things where
Yeah,
how could it really be true? But also he could gone on the trip. So
right.
anyway, back to the
Yeah,
main
I
topic.
don't know about the walkabout, but I do know why he's in the wheelchair. And the other thing I'll say is that, yeah, they really commit to this alternate timeline. Like they actually change like a lot of things and
Mm-hmm.
that it's actually like it actually matters like to some extent like within the world that the plane didn't crash, the island's underwater, and therefore like
Mm-hmm. They
Their
do the
lives are very
butterfly
different.
effect very
Exactly. Yeah.
specifically.
There's a real butterfly effect. It's not just like the one thing. All right. I'm just ranting about a different show now.
Yeah,
Anyway.
we were just off podcasting, ranting about Star Trek Picard.
Yeah, we did do a commentary on the first episode, and the first episode is, in my opinion, so far the best one. Three of them
Yeah.
have aired so far, and yeah, it just gets worse. So anyway, yeah, we were talking about that. It's still in my head because it also deals with technically like an alternate timeline,
Hmm.
and so I
The
just think
Kelvin timeline is one big flash sideways.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, but like a crappy version of that, it's like they only changed this one thing that was inconvenient for them. Like,
Hmm.
okay. Like I do appreciate that aspect. But yeah, I think as far as the walkabout, I don't know. It's almost like I feel like did it even happen? Like I feel like there's a question about the Flash Sideways, like when did it start for the characters? Like did they really
Hmm.
experience their whole lives? I don't know. Then it gets into like Blade Runner territory of like what is memory and like if
Hmm.
they remember it, is that the same as if it happened? Is it different when it's like this artificial
Hey,
reality already?
are you
Like
talking about Blade Runner or Star Trek Picard? Because I
oh,
feel like there's some themes there.
oh.
Or is Star Trek Picard aping Blade Runner? Hmm.
I'm not sure.
I don't know which one it is. Which one came first is probably the answer to that question. But yeah, but anyway, yeah. Okay, so get to the nature of like what is that? What are the memories even?
Yeah,
What's
so that's why I'm saying like did like I to make the distinction between does like there's like multiple possibilities. Does he have a memory of doing the walkabout or is he lying? Like that's one thing.
mm-hmm,
And then the second thing is like did he really live the experience of either not going on the walkabout or going on the walkabout or was it just an implanted memory? You know what I mean?
I try to think until proven otherwise that the the first scene that we see of each person is sort of like when the flash sideways starts for
I
them.
kind of feel that way too, exactly.
Yeah, and everything before that for them is just their memories.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so Locke didn't really live the walkabout, and we didn't
Right.
see it. Like his reality is starting on the plane in
Yeah, yeah,
LAX.
yeah. So he has a memory, but it didn't
Yeah.
necessarily like happen, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yeah. I don't think they tell us though. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Because honestly, I don't really remember very much about what happens in the Flash Sideways in this episode. It's the same. It
Mm-hmm.
was the same with the Kate one, where it's just like, what is he doing for the whole episode? Like,
I remember. I guess this will be another. Maybe it's another episode where like Desmond is like runs. Doesn't he hit Ben with a car, or was it
yeah,
Locke with a
yeah, yeah,
car?
yeah. Or isn't it Locke? He hits Locke with the
I
car.
think it Locke with a car.
Yeah, he
Yeah, I just
beats up
remember.
Ben, and then he
Mm-hmm.
hits Locke with the car because he's a badass.
Our
Like,
hero.
I know. I
Yeah.
don't
See that,
understand.
kids? That's the model you should follow.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I don't remember a lot. Like we said before, when we started this part of the season six, this part of the podcast series with season six, it's been years or a
So long.
decade since
Like
we've
10
seen.
years almost.
Yeah, since we
Because I
actually
did do a
watched
rewatch,
this.
but the rewatch was during season 6, so
Hmm.
it's still been like a shitload of time. Like I remember the on island stuff better. Like I can recall
Hmm.
multiple scenes from the on island stuff. I know there's Man in Black like going around, and I remember how it ends, and I remember like yeah, I remember like various story beats that we're gonna run into. I remember some specific things that annoy me about this episode, and in general, the concept of like switching between Man in Black and Locke is annoying, but on
Hmm.
the other hand, like I do get that they want to show Locke in the Flash sideways. Who are they going to pair him up with? Like, like it
Hmm.
would be weird to pair him up with anybody else. Like show like Miles and then cut to Locke or something.
Hmm.
Like, and you don't want to show like one of the main characters who has their own Flash sideways. So it's
Hmm.
like, well, it's Terry O'Quinn at least. Like, I guess that'll work.
Dude, you just kind of you set the stage for just another example of what they could have. Another reason why they should have made gone with an idea that Locke because Man in Black is in the, it looks like Locke,
Is
like
still
he's
around in
being
some
in,
form.
well, but he's being influenced by Locke,
Right.
by the idea or the spirit or idea, or the
Hmm.
memories that he has of Locke or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and that, and then what you would do in that case is is show a connection between what Locke, the real Locke, is doing in the Flash Sideways, and then when they cut to Man in Black, they show him doing something that connects to that,
Yeah.
so that it's not just
Yeah.
because, right, it doesn't feel right to mirror those characters because one is like the enemy of the show
Right.
and like is like usurp this guy's form, right? And
Yeah.
we don't want to be like, oh yeah, they're the same, because they're not the same.
Right.
And that would have been another reason, if they have to structurally use them, like you're saying, who else are they going to pair them with? But like actually make a connection between why they paired them up, other than it was the like only option they had, right?
Right.
Like just like, well,
By
it doesn't make
default,
sense, but we got
basically.
to do it,
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like, yeah, Locke is, whatever weird, whatever he's going through, or a little, it could be a little, just like that little thing where on the airplane in LAX, Jack has that little cut, right? That
Hmm.
little vestigial connection between the real world and this world, right?
Right.
Do something like
Yeah.
that with Man in Black and Locke when they're cutting between the two, or I don't know,
Yeah.
something where they could get something else out of just sort of pragmatic need to pair them up.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I do remember that this is the episode where Man in Black says, "Don't tell me what I can't do," which I think is the
There it is.
closest that
Yeah.
they ever get to
Mm-hmm.
doing something like what
Yeah.
you're saying. But I
Mm-hmm.
think they don't really make the connection with the Flash Sideways, because in the Flash Sideways, Locke isn't like that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the point, and so they don't really mirror each other very well. So yeah, the
Well, you
link
can
is
mirror it
very
with the opposite, though. Mirror the opposite. Tell me
do the
what I can't
opposite.
do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell
Maybe
me what
that's
I
what they
can.
wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Maybe that
Hey,
was sort of
hey,
the vision.
anybody, tell me what I can't do. I'm completely fine with it.
I love it.
I love it when you tell
Please.
me I can't do. Um, you know what I mean? So it can still connect. It doesn't have to be the
Right.
exact same
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It
but
doesn't it can be like by contrast or something.
mhm,
But I don't think they really draw that very clearly either, even if that's maybe what they told themselves in the writer's room or something.
mhm.
But yeah, I agree. I agree. I think it would have been more satisfying on a large number of levels if they had bothered to do that. I think that's definitely a big regret I have about the whole idea of
Mhm.
Man in Black as
Yeah.
Locke, because
And
he could have just been Titus Welliver,
yes.
which would make more sense, really. That's his
They,
OG form.
well, and and because there is the Flash Sideways, you still have Terry O'Quinn.
Yeah.
Still maybe not in every episode of the show now. Maybe that's part of the problem is you can't just give Titus all of his on island screen Terry O'Quinn screen time
Right.
because he's higher on the call sheet and he's
Right.
maybe he has to be in
Build
every
technical
episode
sheets.
and everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
but it's like cool. Okay, we're stuck with what we're stuck with. Cool, but like still, you can make it good. So one of the things they could have done is say because Man in Black is stuck in this form, like specifically because he's stuck. Normally, when he just scans people's minds and has it and takes their memories and and then can impersonate them like in an apparitional form, right? Like he doesn't he doesn't take on their traits because he's not them.
Right.
But now that he's stuck like Locke
Hmm.
and he's stuck with his memories, now like because it would go back to that thing, right? Like your memories and your consciousness is like the software on the hardware, right? So like now his software is different because he's got Locke in his brain. That should change his behavior.
Yeah,
So again, yeah,
yeah,
start with "Don't tell me what I can't do." One of Locke's biggest catchphrases, for his like central dysfunction.
yeah.
But like, cool, progress from there. What other, like he said, well, my mom was crazy too. Cool, that's another
Oh,
thing
right. Yeah,
you
yeah.
could add to them like making that case. But like, do something where like he screws up and he's like, "What? I'm becoming pathetic, like Locke was, or something." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time, whatever. This should be easier, but I can't help but feel like I don't understand, or
Yeah,
whatever. I
yeah.
used to never be, and that would connect to what he said, laughing at Locke's last words or last
Right.
thoughts. I don't understand. And then you have Man in Black, who has the supreme understanding, right? He's completely confident in his 2,000-year-old plan or whatever. But
Hmm.
then now that he's stuck like Locke and he's got Locke software running on his brain, now he's starting to have self-doubt. Now he's not sure what he's, you know what I mean, like, so gradually. And that again could go towards the influence of Locke as a character we want to be heroic in some fashion, actually contributing to the demise of the villain,
Right.
right? By virtue of, like, making him less confident and less capable. It's like he infected him. It's like a reverse claiming,
Yeah, yeah,
and that
yeah.
would like that sounds super cool to me, man. Like, oh, the guy known for claiming gets claimed, right? Like Man in Black, who claim, we know there's problems with that, but like the idea that he's the one who claims people. Well, you just got claimed, dude, and now you've got Locke infecting how
Hmm.
you think and act, and
Yeah.
like now you get this sort of like mental battle, right? Could be happening. It's like, why am I whittling so much? I've never whittled before.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I've always found, after living for 2,000s of years, my enjoyment of whittling, went away in in the Middle Ages, right?
Hmm.
Like, I haven't whittled for a century or something.
Yeah.
Why am I whittling now?
Yeah.
And like,
I think
how,
that's another missed opportunity, actually, is just like
yeah.
acknowledging how long he's been there. Like, I mean, they say it a couple
Hmm.
times, but I do feel like the story doesn't really take that seriously most of the time.
Yeah.
But like all the events that we've seen with him, for the most part, I know there's like two exceptions to this, are from like the last like tiny fraction of a percent of how long he's been there.
Hmm.
And it's yeah, it just feels like it's not really acknowledging the fullness of that experience. The other thing I was thinking when you were talking is like, I know there's a fine line between taking influence and just being manipulative, because obviously like manipulation is a major part of his character, but I do feel like there is a little bit of a hint of what you're saying, even though he wasn't stuck that way before, in like when he was impersonating Yemi, and
Hmm.
like acting as a priest, saying confess, and
Hmm.
also when he's doing Christian and he goes to Claire. I feel like it's almost like he is like influenced in some weird way. Of course, you could just take it the other way around. He wants to manipulate them, so he's appearing
Yeah,
as
there's a
someone.
it's yeah, it's like, yeah, which version is it? Because he naturally wants to act like them for the
But
deception.
it's like, why take Claire? It's just I don't really get it. So it almost feels like, and I mean the Echo thing is like sort of its own thing, because there was like an outside the show reason why that plot went down the way it did. But because of the fact that it doesn't really come to anything, it's and the specific way it plays out, it does sort of seem like there's like at least a weak influence, if only because he's drawing on like memories and stuff of
Hmm.
the personalities
It's
he's
probably indistinguishable, because the resulting action is the same, so it's hard to know what the motivation is and what
right.
they're thinking. But I'm really stuck on this idea of why did he take Claire, and it's like, I just realized, like, they could have had an opportunity to say, like we were just talking about. He says, I had a crazy mother too,
Hmm.
and it could have been a way where they could have tied those two things together, that Claire being a mother raising a
Yeah,
son on the island might be something he's familiar with,
yeah,
and
yeah.
worried about her mental health or whatever kind of thing, like, well, I don't want her to go crazy or whatever. But like, that's not what
But
they
he's
did, of
the one that
course.
made her
And he's
crazy,
the one
so
who
it's
made
a
it
bit
crazy,
like,
and he's fine that she's away from her child, you know what I
right.
mean? So it's the
Yeah,
complete opposite of what I'm saying, but like, they did
it could
start
have
it with, like,
worked better.
why, in terms of the answer to the question of like, what's his interest in Claire, like,
Yeah.
that would
They
have been
should
a
have done more
natural
work
entry
on
point.
Claire's characterization to really sell that, I think. If they actually had her going
I'm
crazy.
laughing because you could have input, like, it's like Mad Libs. You could have input any character in there to make that sentence work. But Yes, Claire as well.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. They definitely had problems with a large number of characters because they have so many, and yeah,
Mhm.
they're like in full plot mode
By
and
the
they're having
way,
trouble.
we criticize Lost a lot, and because we love it and the show and criticizing. But
Yeah,
I just want to laud the show because in this way, because we were lambasting Star Trek Picard earlier, and
yeah,
because their characters really all suck.
yeah,
And Lost, I got to tell you, you know who people are right away. People
yeah,
come on
yeah,
screen or from scene to scene. They, there's most of the characters have at least two dimensions, if not
yeah,
three.
yeah, yeah,
And they feel most of the time like they're in the world that they're portrayed in. And you might think they're annoying or they're not good characters or make bad decisions, but I think the show is succeeds on that level where
yeah.
we were talking before about Picard and not succeeding.
Yeah, no, yeah, I totally agree. I totally, as much as I can complain about that, it's not even on the same
Hmm.
level. It's like once if you think of building characters as like sort of like having a foundation and like getting to the next point, I feel like
Hmm.
they did the basic stuff just fine.
Hmm.
And it's really just like taking it to the next level that I think they had trouble in. And I do think part of that is just a practical thing of like it's pretty hard to juggle a plot and whatever, like a dozen characters all getting
Hmm.
their own arcs that interact correctly with the plot and
Hmm.
come to some conclusion that like works with the overall story. Like I can see why it would be very I haven't seen most shows that have like satisfying character arcs usually have a smaller number of characters.
Hmm.
So I feel like that's part of the reason why.
Yeah, the show sort of should be a lot worse than it is, given
Yeah,
all the characters and major plot
I
lines
feel
and.
like all the characters, at least all the ones I can think of off the top of my head, at least get some moments where they're good.
Hmm.
Like I know
I
there's some like
definitely
side
think that's
characters that's
true.
not true for, but like in terms
The
of the main
main.
characters, like they all have their moments
The
to.
only one I can't guess one for or think of one for right now is Claire.
Oh, yeah, I guess that is kind of true.
Like, what was her high point?
Yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately her high point was things happening to her,
Yeah.
which isn't really her
Hmm.
character. Yeah, I do agree. That's probably the weakest one. That's probably the weakest one.
But I think
Like,
your
I think
statement
her
is generally
plot
true.
was interesting in the early parts, but yeah, did they actually give her a character or something to do? No, they definitely struggled with that. And that's why I
Hmm.
was like, okay, how about you just get kidnapped for a season? Because we don't know what to do with you.
Yep. Yep. That's what happened.
Yeah, they were definitely struggling. I mean, they were struggling with Charlie too, which is why he dies, like
Hmm.
I think they've definitely had, but yeah, I think that's potentially the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah.
That they mostly worked in like some great moments, and with
Hmm.
some of the characters, those moments have passed and they won't have any more. But
Oh,
it was good while it lasted. I
memories.
guess I'm thinking of Sun's like Widmore confrontation or
Yep.
whatever. Like
Hmm.
that stuff was really cool. We're never getting back there, unfortunately, but
Mm-mm.
it was at least it was nice that they actually came up with something compelling for the character to do.
Yeah, and
During
then
that
she go.
time.
Yeah, and then she goes and she like takes control of Pike, right, or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She walks into her father's
Yeah.
office and like,
Hmm.
yeah, I just bought a controlling chair. It's very, yeah,
Hmm.
it's a great like endpoint to that whole Korean
Yeah.
plot, where
Exactly.
like
Yep. The
under
the
the
the the
thumb
kept the
of her
kept
father.
wife under her thumb of her father and
Exactly.
worried
Yeah,
about her
making
husband.
Jin go do all these things because he didn't respect him because he was a
Hmm.
fisherman and blah, all that
Hmm.
stuff. Or his dad was a fisherman, but yeah. Anyway, just like
Yeah, the only thing was missing would be like, and I'm renaming this to Jinsu Kwan Industries, or something in
right.
Jin's honor,
Right. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
like just as extra
Yeah.
spite her father,
Definitely. Yeah, that would have
like
been great.
yeah,
But
like
actually, as I think about it, I feel like maybe the reason why the characters go nowhere after that is because that is the end of the arc
hmm
and there's nowhere. It's like Desmond too. Like Desmond gets back
yeah,
with Penny and like there's nowhere to go. And so it's
hmm
like, wait, the story's over, but we still have
Mhm.
like a whole season and a
But here's the
half.
thing that when you end an arc, especially with like two characters whose arc is about each other, right, ending up with each other,
Yeah,
or whatever their dynamic is, with Sun and Jin, and then like Penny and Desmond, you there's nowhere to go after that plot point if the thing that they care most about is still that thing.
yeah,
It's got, so you can't have Desmond end up with Penny and having a son Charlie and being happy, and then try to reel him back into the island drama unless some desire he has is about, which is what they try to do with him trying to connect to Penny, right, is about him trying to get back to Penny,
yeah.
or so
That's
unless
all they
they,
could do. Have someone
that's all they
kidnap
could
him, and
do.
now he's trying to get back. Like it's like, okay,
Yeah.
this again. Like it's basically the being
But what
trapped
it
on the
should have
island
been
for eternity.
about, what they should have done, which is option two of limited options, is they should have come up with a reason why he would risk all that for the Losties. They should have come up with a reason why whatever they needed Desmond to do was bigger than anything else, or threatened his safety. It's that kind of thing of like, no, I'm going to go take my family and go to this safe place. And then somebody says, well, if this bad thing happens, there's no place that's safe. Then it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like now getting the thing I want means doing the thing you want me to do.
Right.
So like that's option two in that case,
Yeah.
where he still, his ultimate goal is to be safe with his family, but he's he's allied with the main plot of like doing the other thing he wouldn't ordinarily do.
Right.
And so there's ways you could do that would make it, but I was just thinking about that, because yeah, once the character arc is done, what do you do after that if you have several years left on your TV show?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then everything just and that's why things feel forced, because
Exactly.
it's not aligned with, yeah, their ultimate character goal.
Yeah. And I think that's part of why Jack's character arc functions a bit better because it hasn't finished yet.
Hmm.
So so there's still somewhere to go,
But
you
that's
know.
why it waffles in the season 4 and 5
That
timeline
is true.
period so much,
Yeah.
because it's not headed the place it's headed. They have to basically stall. It's like a plane
Yeah.
that has to
He
like
has to spin around
circle.
before he's ready to head for the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
So that's
true.
why
It's
it's all
true.
like muddled in the
So like
middle.
you're on hold and yeah, it's like they're trapped between those things. Like,
Hmm.
oh, we're not ready for you to progress yet, and you've progressed too far. So it's like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah.
Like you're both kind of spinning your wheels. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it's true. That is a problem.
All right. Well, that was a good preamble. Let's. I think we set up the substitute perfectly.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, everybody, get your streamers ready. If I don't know how people watch these things with us.
Blu-rays, what have
Blu-ray,
you?
Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, not Disney Plus.
Please, never Disney Plus.
Uh,
Although, don't they own Lost?
they should. Maybe Disney Plus. Start there.
Yeah. Is it even well, okay, whatever. Anyway.
No, let's talk about the
I agree not
landscape of
Disney
modern
Plus,
media.
but
All
Disney
right.
owns too much.
If you're gonna
Anyway.
sync up with this, we're about to sync. Let's
All
sync.
right.
All
Sync
right.
time.
Sync time. Five. That's what I'll just say next. I'll start just saying sync time. Okay.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, I messed up.
Uh-oh.
It
Let's do
didn't
it
do the
again.
thing. A resync time. Okay.
One more time.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see if that worked. Previously on Lost.
All right. That was good.
Previously on Lost. Juliet died
Yeah. Again.
again. But don't follow me because I want to be alone now. Then the smoke monster smoked up some
All
stuff.
right. And the ash almost stopped him, but
It
not
was
quite.
such a
Oh,
good
they cut out the
call.
ash part. Right. I forgot it doesn't matter anymore. They're
Oh man,
so
the
done with
throat punch,
that.
dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I don't get this.
Mm-hmm.
What is he even doing? I guess they're gonna tell us, but
Yeah,
it's like,
he's got a
why is he
loophole
like,
plan.
okay, Richard, throat punch, I'm gonna carry you into the jungle. Like, okay. Oh, here it is.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about it. Maybe we'll get our answer.
Yeah, this is it. We're gonna get our answer.
It
It's
feels
probably
like
because it's
it.
probably him being the teacher talking about his walkabout, right?
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah,
he's like, and then Ben's like, "You'll never go on a walkabout."
yeah. Shut up, Dr. Linus. Don't tell me what I didn't do.
Mm-hmm. I already know what I didn't do. You know, I read a thing about this is apropos of nothing except LeBlanc's shoes, which is really important to him being dead in the
Oh, okay.
casket. I read that the deceased don't actually wear shoes when they're in the casket because
Really?
no one ever actually sees their feet in the
Oh, just the top
in the
part.
viewing, and they actually don't have shoes on.
Oh.
So that whole thing about the shoes and Jack's dad's shoes having to be on the plane and all
Well,
this
that
thing
was
about
because of the
shoes.
mystical power of the shoes. So maybe it was the exception, like he has to have shoes
Oh
because
no! I mean, this is offensive. As a
this is
supporter of,
pretty sad. So hold on.
the
I'm just a little confused here. He was driving the van, but he can't move his legs?
yeah. I think there's a
They
way
have
he
like a
can drive
hand
the
thing?
van. Yeah, there's a way he can operate
Okay,
it without
okay,
moving his
okay.
legs.
All right, all right. Now the sprinkler comes on.
I know what
Like,
timing.
it's like, I feel like it knew. It's like
Well, yeah, the
spiting him.
sprinklers don't even respect him.
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, I think that whole thing about the shoes on the plane, on the corpse, I don't think it's a thing.
Isn't really a thing.
It's just so
Yeah.
funny that it's not a real thing in real life, but it was such a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. It was a huge deal. The magic shoes.
Hmm?
Yeah. There's the line.
So, oh, because was his dad never Sawyer? Like his dad wasn't a con man who had a like a horrible person and never like left Locke and then pushed him out a window years later. Is
Well,
that a
I have
thing?
some thoughts on that, but I do feel like maybe we need to get to that part.
Okay.
If it's even in this, if it's not in this episode, I'll talk about it
Okay.
at the end. Because I have a thought about
Oh,
it, but
here we go.
yeah, I feel like I
Conference.
don't want to quite spoil it.
So she
I
said,
don't
"How
know
was the
why.
conference?" So basically, he didn't go on the walkabout.
Oh, he did. He said that
She said, "How was the conference?" And he
the
said, "Boring."
conference. Oh, he lied.
Or he
Okay.
went on the walkabout and lied to her just now.
Oh, okay.
Which lying
Oh,
is
could
it?
have been that. Okay.
See how she's misplacing meaning on this random occurrence of an event
I do.
without calling it destiny?
I do.
That's a
But
theme
in
of
this
the
case,
show.
is it misplaced?
It's only potentially misplaced until we find out if it's true or not, right? It's Schrodinger's misplacement. Both misplaced and perfectly placed at the
Placed,
same
yeah.
time. Oh, I
Oh, I
remember this
remember
being the
Smoke
worst
Monster
thing
Cam.
ever. Smoky Cam.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
flying through. Oh,
So
does
many
he look at
crank
his
sounds.
reflection? Do we
Yep.
get to see that? I
Yeah, this
remember
is it,
this.
dude.
I totally remember
This is
this.
the
It's
first
so
time we've ever
weird.
seen his POV.
It's like, ooh,
Who's that fine thing
look
smoking
at
through the
me.
woods?
Woo!
I'm hot.
I'm smoking.
Smoking hot.
And he's back.
Mm-hmm.
We will never see how that works.
Mm-mm. There were some like flashes. It looks like,
Yeah.
it's an interesting kind of interpretation of what we did see.
Yeah. Oh, he put Richard in a bag. All right, Richard, you just sit in
Is
this
that a dick bag?
bag.
He's gonna talk to a dick bag. All right.
All right, I think that's a bit of a weak teaser.
Uh huh.
Like, because it doesn't really give us
It,
anything.
it it would have been great if it had come right after when he took Richard off, but the
Exactly.
tension had died down because we had been distracted by all the scenes in between.
Yeah, it's like they just reset like the thing
Yeah.
from before. And it's like, okay, yeah, I saw the previously on. Like,
Hmm.
I just feel like they should have given us a little more there. Something intriguing, something
Yeah.
new. Just time to talk. Like,
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah, you're right. Box Company.
Is this yeah, of course. Oh,
Oh,
Randy
this
Nations.
guy.
I didn't learn
Who
anything.
says that?
Yeah, that's a weird thing to say to your boss.
Hmm.
Oh, wait. Maybe he was lying.
Like, I didn't learn anything, so don't ask me anything that I learned because I
Right.
didn't actually go, so I didn't.
He didn't go to the conference.
Oh,
He
okay,
didn't go to the
that's what it
conference.
is. He's lying about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's why I did, maybe that's why I didn't learn anything.
that's why I didn't learn anything.
Ooh. Ooh.
Burn.
Sick burn. Okay, he's clearly the substitute because he's still working at Box Company.
Uh huh.
And this is why he gets fired or something. Okay. Okay.
Or
All right.
something.
I mean, it is like pretty questionable to like
Hmm.
say you're going to a conference in Australia and not going at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's enough. Don't overhydrate.
Hit you in the
No, he's
throat.
not.
Wow. I had to do really? Come with
Are
me?
you gonna come with me?
Why? Wait, you're telling me okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me come back to that.
We gotta really come back to that.
Oh, I hate this
This
scene.
is so bad.
Oh, oh, I remember being so disappointed.
Yeah.
No, he never told me anything. Don't you see my wide ass eyes?
They can't get any wider. They're so wide, my eyeliner's falling off.
Everything
I feel like we
what?
should cut to Abaturno right now.
Yeah, I
Like,
totally agree.
because, like, ugh. Oh,
Yep.
God.
Yep. I knew
David
this shit was
David
coming.
Lynch is lost. See, that's the kind of thing that they could go towards being like Locke's influence on him. Like I never cared about my childhood before. Now I'm being
Yeah.
visited by little
Yeah.
Jacob, or
And
just
like,
like
why
that.
is Jacob even looking like that? Other than like they don't want to tell us it's Jacob right now.
Hmm.
Like, I just feel like that's the only reason they're doing that.
Oh yeah, she's a character,
Yeah.
and she cared
Yeah.
about these people.
She did. She came with them. Well,
Jacob's my father. I'll believe anything.
exactly. He turned into. So
Hmm.
he's just believing that, which is
Hmm.
right, of course.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, he totally killed Jacob.
Like metaphor, like figuratively.
Definitely.
All of that part was true.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good at that. Also, we don't have Mark Pellegrino right now.
Yeah. Well, there
He's
he
off
is.
doing a Koch brothers fundraiser.
No, he's a method actor. He's a pile of ashes right now.
Oh
But
my
Mark
god,
Ruffalo,
that's commitment.
he's very committed.
He wants Richard to go with him. I don't get that. I just don't fucking get that at all.
Yeah, he's recruiting.
Oh,
That's
he's
your answer.
recruiting. That's the line.
He's recruiting candidates
Join me.
because it's a job
Why
interview
though?
happening.
Like, I never got why he gave a shit. Like, you can do your own. You can. You don't want.
Isn't it? But isn't it?
I remember at the time, like it was like, ooh, but now I'm just like,
Yeah,
I don't get it.
because
Why-
it should be for the war, right? Like recruiting for a big battle, but that's
Yeah,
not why.
he doesn't
Is
care
it?
about the war. He
Isn't it?
abandons the others
He just wants.
instantly.
He's trying to collect everyone to kill them off in one fell swoop, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I feel like that's really what's happening. But then he
Yeah.
doesn't even really kill them. He just kind of like
Yeah.
leaves. And it's like, so then what was all that for?
It's almost like he should simultaneously know who the candidates are because of the cave wall, but
Mhm.
also not know who they are, which means he has to kill everyone in general. But
Yeah.
he's not sure of who they are, so to make it clear that there's no candidates, I'm going to kill everybody. But it's like they
Yeah.
want it both ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that would have been better to keep it a mystery because I do get why he's going for the candidates. Like Sawyer, I'm buying it. Just not
Mhm.
Richard though, and like the others, like rando others, like I don't
This
know.
is crazy.
It's just really misleading. Like I think Ilana is wrong, and it's like Jacob told you about the candidates, right? I know she knows about it, and it's like
Mhm.
that's like that's not exactly the only reason he cares about the candidates is so they can die, so he can leave, and he wants to leave alone.
So you saying a character is wrong about what's actually happening on the
Yeah,
show?
that never happens on Lost. I'm so irritated.
First time ever.
Ooh, whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Used to be into it.
Or time traveling. Yeah, this is how a character should respond.
Yeah.
This is actually realistic because he understands there could be other crazy explanations that he's never encountered before of why
Yeah.
this is a thing.
I forgot about this scene. This is
Mhm.
Sawyer definitely works better here, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, come on. Isn't every house just a house you live in for a while?
Yeah, I was gonna say now we're getting philosophical about the
I
nature
mean,
of
what does
having
that mean?
things.
What do you want? Paperwork? Like,
Yeah,
come on.
exactly. It's like in the church, it's Sawyer and the house going off to the afterlife together. It's like I told you that was my house.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up in
Exactly.
the afterlife together. How many licks does it take to get to the center of it?
I love that Sawyer laughs at that. That's
Yeah.
so like, oh man,
Yeah.
perfect.
That's how you're here.
Some asshole wrote your name on
It's
the
weird to
wall.
be like, I can prove it. Yeah, it's exactly some asshole.
It's not really clear how that proves anything. I have
Yeah.
more comments about the cave wall that I'll talk about later, but
Yeah.
I just like, yeah. I remember at the time being really excited by all those ideas, but what
Yeah.
actually happens?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I guess
Oh,
Hurley's here.
jeez. Can't get in my car.
Oh, it's that old gag.
Mm-hmm.
Eh.
He can't even scratch this
Ruin the
guy's
car. I know.
Like,
It's
he
so
doesn't even have the
sad.
minimum satisfaction of that. Yeah, I parked in the wrong spot for what I wanted to do today, but like, yeah, he, yeah, it is kind of Locke's fault.
He has that pride. He
But
can't
he could have
accept
said
it's
there was a
not
car parked there earlier, which is not the point they want to make, but
right.
like, it would have been realistic. Philosopher. Doesn't he own the box company?
He owns the box company, yeah.
Why wouldn't he say, "Tell Randy to fuck himself. You're staying on."
Well, I feel like that's kind of the idea of like you want me to talk to him for you. And so he sort of refuses that. Like, I don't want to work here, I guess.
Did he? Did he? Sorry if I'm. Did he just tell him he owns the place?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay. Then yeah, maybe they should have done that.
Is it? Sorry, Alana. I'm questioning you now.
Yeah, they kind of screw her over character wise.
Yeah. What makes you think I want to find Jen? God damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. She's wrong about that too. Love it. Some temple somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Ghost Kid? Yeah, I can see Ghost Kid.
Everybody see Ghost Kid.
Ghost Kid.
It is weird that Sawyer can see him, I have to say.
I was just thinking it's not weird that Sawyer can see him. It's weird that he thought it would be weird. Because if Jacob's just really there, right? He's just
Well,
like it's not Locke's imagination, is what I mean.
yeah.
I mean, it's still weird that he can see him, but if he's really there, maybe he's time traveling. Oh man, that'd be great.
That
It
was the
would be.
luckiest moment right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the reason why I say that is because Jacob in adult form appeared to Hurley earlier and no one else could see him but Hurley.
Well, that was because that was dead Jacob.
Right, isn't this still Jed Jacob in another form? Doesn't he just turn into adult Jacob later? Like, is it really different? I don't know. Maybe you're right. Somehow the child form is different. I don't know.
I've already been there.
No, but there's rules. Right. Sawyer thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
They literally talked about it, so it's just like, why are you? But okay, whatever. We got no answer to the first question.
She's weird.
She's really
Every
weird.
line she had was weird.
I agree. I agree. What is going on there?
No clue.
Are those people like sitting in the dark? Like
Oh, I
what
didn't
was
see
that
where.
shot?
Oh,
Are
you're
there
right.
Yeah,
There's people
yeah.
back there. I
There's
didn't know
people
there was
back
people back
there.
there.
It's so dark back there.
It's a little weird. Unless you have experience currently walking. That's not what he said. I am a black woman of a certain age in America, and I have cancer.
Yeah, there's many things you could say there, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is weird that she has cancer in Flash
Mm-hmm.
Sideways. I'm surprised they didn't take that away. But I guess if they didn't take away Locke's condition,
Yeah.
they're gonna like bond over
Yeah.
this thing.
Mm-hmm.
How about I tell you what you can do?
Yeah. Why do you
Do you
say that?
really?
Yeah, since when? He doesn't get books on the island.
I remember when he said a little after my time, like, what did you read? Like Plato? Like, what the
Mm-hmm.
fuck? I don't even know what he could possibly mean. Like
Yeah.
the Aeneid?
I'm surprised he's heard of that. Even if has heard of Mice and Men.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how would he know about that?
Only from
Like,
scanning people's memories. That's my
yeah, it's so
default for
weird.
him knowing
Yeah.
anything, like how to rig bombs on planes like he does later.
Yeah, that's true.
It ain't gonna work, James.
Mm-mm.
You wanna know why
But
he's
in
not
the
scared?
head though, it's one of those things. Maybe the head matters. Oh, wow. They should have said that, which is kind of what he almost said, which is that if he was saying specifically he's trapped in the because of the smoke monster shit, they should have said him
He's
getting off
trapped
the
as Locke.
island. Yeah, well, but he's trapped on the island as
Oh,
Man
trapped
in
on the
Black.
island. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's the overall thing.
Yeah.
But if they had said he's trapped in the form with the smoke monster and he wants to get rid of that, and him leaving the island, he
Mm-hmm.
thinks we'll leave the smoke monster behind and he'll just be a man again.
Yeah.
That would be great motivation for his character.
Yeah.
in
They
season
don't
6.
say that though.
They don't say that.
As far as I can tell, yeah, they're trying to say he would still be the smoke monster even if he left.
Yeah, I think mine's better.
I agree.
Why didn't you just bring his face?
There it is.
You don't know that.
Why?
You
Why,
don't
Lana?
know
You've been
that.
wrong
There's
about
no
everything in this
reason.
episode.
There's
Why
no
should I
reason for
believe
her to
you?
know that. There's no reason.
Give any reason for that. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
can't just say that shit and then like move on. Like, that's
Yeah.
so, come on. That's just, yeah. I wish they spent a little more time like
Yeah.
developing a reason for that if they must have him stuck that way just for practical,
Mm-hmm.
reasons. Because it's just weak to have Alana declare something, especially when like she's clearly not right about everything. Like, why should we even believe it?
Yeah.
You know?
And again, we've talked about this many times, but it just complicates the idea further when he can still change into the smoke monster.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they didn't want to take that away, but it's almost like they should have if they wanted to really commit to like he's stuck as Locke. He can't even be the
Mhm.
smoke monster anymore.
Oh man. Well, Ben, you got anything to say?
I love that Ben's the one to make the speech.
Yeah. His last words were, "I don't understand." What do you call a slug you can take advantage of over and over and over and over? Oh, a believer.
He believed me a lot.
Yeah.
What?
What a eulogy.
I'm like, huh?
But Ben's like, well, to be clear, I'm sorry I murdered him in the context of Man in Black being in control now, and him manipulating me to kill Jacob. Like, that's why I'm sorry.
Right. I love it. They're just gonna move on. You murdered Locke? All right. Well, weird
Mhm.
funeral. Anyway.
You happy, Alana, that you made someone talk?
I know. Uh-oh. The mirror moment.
Uh-oh, mirror time.
There's always some like weird mirror thing.
Yeah, maybe at the end of Twin Peaks season 3, Audrey's when she sees the mirror, she's just in a flash sideways.
It kind of seems like that in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like a crappy flash sideways. No offense.
Yeah. That's not how phones work. See, that's the thing where like the characters are really in the scene. So when someone says no one, she's like, "That's a dumb answer."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another show would have been like, "Oh, that's a fine answer."
Right. I can't think of any shows that might do that.
I can't either engage with that idea. Oh, she what? The what luggage?
Lost luggage.
Lost luggage?
Yeah. Yeah. What does it mean? Is it the knives?
Is
Is
it
it
the
money?
knives?
I'm trying to remember what's in here.
Yeah.
Drugs? No, it's not drugs. Is it
What
the
is
knives?
this? I lost my luggage. Oh,
Oh, here's our answer.
okay. Yeah, I think he's gonna say the guy didn't let him on. It's a kangaroo.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't believe they delivered it.
Yeah, well, that's why I got lost.
Really should be illegal to transport these things like this.
Lacks laws. Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was the knives.
I'm a murderer, Helen. I'm a serial killer. I had to go to a conference. I went on a killing spree. Yeah, that's a weird thing to do to anybody.
Your what about?
Is that when you go kill people with these knives? By nature, do you mean authorities?
There it is. They wouldn't let him
Uh-huh.
go. He was lying to Boone.
Yeah.
You're right. I can't believe he skipped the whole conference and he didn't even go on the walkabout.
He was too depressed about the walkabout to go to the
Yeah.
conference. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand why he isn't the guy in the Flash Sideways that overcomes this.
I agree.
Self-doubt.
I agree. In the Flash Sideways, he has to get miracle surgery to be happy. Like that does
Yeah.
seem like have you really moved on? Have you really dealt
Mhm.
with your issues? Like if that's what it takes?
Mhm.
Like I don't think so. I think yeah. I get why they wanted to make that connection, but I think it's kind of
I just
wrong.
also there's this thing about handicapped people that they're talking about here about what limitations should be expected or could be expected, and like we know there's so many people who break crazy records,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and it's like why couldn't he be the person who's the first ever person in a wheelchair to complete a walkabout?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. They build some
Or
special
or
thing
he
that he can
talked them
like
into letting him go, but he failed halfway, and
yeah.
now, so he tried, he had a little success, but now, now he does need the surgery or something.
Yeah.
I missed what they said, but I assume
Or
that
he
you're
can
on
like
board.
accept his limitations and find a way to do something
Mm-hmm.
that's satisfying to him in life while still not needing miracle surgery.
Mm-hmm. What if Locke just pushes him over the cliff? It's
It
probably
would
gonna
have
kill
been
you.
so easy,
Real easy.
but it's against the rules. Can't
That
break the
don't
rules.
exist.
No offense. No, I'm on my nut, James.
I'm totally centered on top of my nut.
Yeah, I remember this. This is like a little bit fake
Mm-hmm.
drama here, but
Yeah.
whatever, it's fine. Scary ladder, okay.
Yeah, I guess we're supposed to think he might want to kill him.
Yeah, because of Richard's thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be suspicious, like, ooh, it's some kind of
Yeah.
trap or whatever. Right, the rope one is the problem.
I guess they ran out of bamboo making the bamboo one. So they're like, oh, well, gotta go to a rope.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Never mind, the bamboo one broke, so I guess the bamboo one was a problem too. He totally oh shit.
That was great.
I,
It was like,
I was just
I'm
gonna say,
fine.
like, he totally makes that jump later in the season.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I guess the rope ladder is gonna save him in the end. It's like, why did you put the cave here? Like, this is so annoying.
Because it's the biggest secret on the island.
I
Next to the
guess.
light cave.
I know that. Yeah. Oh boy. And the
Mm-hmm.
lighthouse.
And the lighthouse.
There's the
The top
cave,
three
the
secrets.
lighthouse, and the cave, and the light cave.
Yep. They put the two together, the lighthouse with the cave, and came up with the light cave. That was also kind of a house.
It is. It's true.
It houses things.
It does. How did it get back up? Okay, whatever.
Same way they came down.
Okay. Didn't let it break though, but okay. It's fine.
Only part of it.
Maybe you can fly him
The
out.
part they need. Do you think I can fly you out if I can drag
Always get so mad. Fuck you, Whitestone. Fuck you.
Yep. Get the fuck out of here,
He
you
gets
stone.
so mad about the Whitestone.
You Jacob Stone.
I hate you.
Yep. See ya.
Ready-made torch.
Mm-hmm.
Classic Lost. There's always a torch when you need one.
Yeah, it's horse time.
Oh, you gotta go deep, right? Oh man, remember when Game of Thrones had a cave like this, where there was like a White Walker on the wall?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, this is better than that.
Mm-hmm. Now this doesn't make sense to me.
Good. It doesn't make sense to me either. So yeah,
So, like, what's the process here? Jacob goes to
Yeah.
the lighthouse, which is somewhere else on the island. He looks through the
Oh
lighthouse.
yeah, you're hitting on the exact thing I wanted
And then,
to
like,
say.
sees a person and goes, "Cool, Reyes."
Yeah.
And then they have a number, and then he walks back to the cave here.
Yeah.
And then goes to the back, and then
Yeah.
scribbles, like, carves it into the rock.
Yeah. Yeah.
In
Jacob
various, in a non-meticulous way, he would just, like,
yeah,
you know,
it's just like scratched on the wall randomly.
different sizes and
Yeah.
different way. Yeah, that's weird.
It's a fucking mess. I want to say more about that, but I want to let this thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to like miss
Oh, even the kids are ignoring him.
the key moment here.
He would have asked where the lounge was when he started for the day. I mean,
You would think so, yeah. Uh-oh.
Here we go.
Ah! I love it. No one's listening.
Yep. And you, sir, are no gentleman. Well, they'll be great friends. Isn't that awesome? Like, the one person who's been nice to him and who he likes is his mortal enemy.
Yeah.
Oh, what did they do to this character, man? What if he's lying, though? What if Jacob didn't do this?
Jacob liked wasting time.
Yeah.
I think there's pseudo proof that I think Jacob acknowledges writing these later.
Yeah,
is what I'm gonna say.
He also was my brother. Like this big one I'm staring at.
Who could that be?
Who that shepherd? I don't like these cuts. We don't need them.
I agree. That's to me that's a Lindelof thing. Sometimes he cuts to things a little too obviously.
Yeah. And this would make sense if this was Jacob talking to
Yeah.
Sawyer. Because none of them, they're cutting the things none of them know.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of for the audience.
Yeah, neither one of them were there for any of that.
And it's not being communicated to Sawyer what we're seeing. So
it's just for the audience.
Yeah.
And I don't think the audience really needs that. And if they really need it, put this in the previously on.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put it in the episode. He did it in Watchmen. He did it in Leftovers. Like, I just think he's got like a weakness for bad cutaways.
It'd be cool if Sawyer put the numbers together in this list of who's still alive. If he's like, wait, 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's just like, at least he was there for that one. Mm-hmm. This is the only one that makes sense.
Yeah. But does he remember Jacob, though?
Good point.
Because he was so young. Like I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob actually didn't do that. He was really hands off. So now the question is, why am I candidate?
Yeah. and hold this torch.
Yeah,
That's a weird 3.
that's a British 3. That's how they count starting that way, right? Oh no, I'm thinking of this.
I think the
starting
British
with
3 is
like the
thumb,
Yeah, that's what I
first
meant.
finger, middle finger.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That was like, I don't know. I guess it's supposed to be like ancient Roman 3. I don't know.
Yeah, that feels right. So wait, what was the first option?
I missed it.
Okay.
Oh, I think he was saying you get crossed off, like you die.
You die, yeah.
You know it's not just a damn island. This is some bullshit he keeps saying. Motherfucker,
Mhm.
you're a smoke monster who's lived for
Mhm.
2,000 years. It's not God. It's
But
what?
like from his perspective, maybe all islands are like this. He's only ever been on this
Okay.
one.
He just
And
thinks
all islands are this magical.
every island has this shit. Nah,
Yeah.
he should know. He should know from people's memories and stuff, and that's not true. Come on, come on, come on.
Hmm. You mean the Dharma house? Oh no, that wasn't my home.
I guess that's why he said that line.
Manipulation success.
Mission accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah. So let me just spell out like okay, actually you said most of the thing, but like I just want to double down on how little sense it makes to have the lighthouse and the cave,
Mm-hmm.
where all they have in the cave is their names scrawled on the wall,
Mm-hmm.
like, and they're scratched out on the lighthouse too. So it's like, why would you?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you go to all this trouble? Like is it supposed to be some kind of primitive backup or something, like in case something happens to the lighthouse there's a record? Like, is that what we're supposed to think? Like, I don't get it. It seems to me like it would have made more sense if the Man in Black made the cave
Yep.
to keep track of it himself, and he
Yes.
takes it upon himself to cross Locke's name off because he's dead,
Mm-hmm.
and so it would be like, oh, he's keeping track of
You
the
know what
dead.
it should be? You know what it should be? And you're literally just basically said it, but it should have been Jacob only cared about the lighthouse, and that's where he kept his names. The cave here is where Man in Black was secretly tracking what Jacob was doing.
Yes.
And oh, this is he would sneak to the lighthouse and see another candidate added, and he'd come back to his like this is his cave. Jacob, it's like the reverse of the cabin. Like
Yeah.
this is his cave. Jacob's never in this cave.
Yeah.
And this is where he was keeping, and that's why it's so hard to get to, because it was a secret hiding spot for him tracking what Jacob was doing over at the lighthouse. That's
Yeah.
what it should have been.
Yeah, but Jacob does say later that he crossed Kate's name off in the cave because she became a
Mhm.
mother, and so it's like there's really no room to believe that Jacob didn't have something to
Yeah.
do with the cave. So it's just like, I mean, the cabin is the same way. It's like they tie it to Jacob even though they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Because it definitely would have worked better if they didn't. Because I feel like it also feels sloppy, like this episode followed by Lighthouse, where Jack and Sawyer basically learn the same things, but because the audience has already seen the cave, they're not just going to have Jack go to the cave too. So it's like they have to come up with a new location where he can functionally learn the same
Mhm.
thing,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
then it just creates this redundancy in the story. I don't like that. I wish they had found a way for the characters to
Well, the
find out the
lighthouse is at
thing.
least important, right? The lighthouse was a tool by which he found people in the real world to bring
True.
to the island, so that it had
Yeah,
more
that's the thing
functional
they add to.
importance. Yeah, and I just think, yeah, Man in Black. This should have been Man in Black's secret man cave,
Yeah, I agree.
and
Clearly.
yeah, it's super weird.
Yeah, it doesn't add up. The style of it is totally off base. Like, it's
Hmm.
just weird. it's weird that he can even go there. Like I would think he probably couldn't even go to the lighthouse in the same way that he couldn't go to the light cave, until uh until like he gets it appears or whatever by the magic
Mm,
of the protector, like whatever bullshit that's supposed to mean.
mhm.
Like it's weird that this cave is just like you just climb down this ladder and hop on in and you find out the same thing more or less that's in the lighthouse. The only difference is yeah, you can't watch people through it. But
Mhm.
in terms of like what it's keeping track of, like it's that part's
It
all the
just functionally doesn't make sense why you would carve people's names that haphazardly with
same.
no
Yeah.
rhyme or reason. And like the amount of effort it takes to make carvings that big on some of those names when you can totally save time and make it smaller,
Yeah.
and neat and organized by number. It's just kind of, you know what I mean? It's like, so why would it be
Yeah.
so crazily written?
Yeah.
Like that's the
Yeah.
cave you expect. Oh, there's been a murder,
Mhm.
and now we'll find out where the suspect lived. And oh, look at his house.
Yeah.
It's got writing all over the walls and
Yeah, and it's
crazy.
almost like the Game of Thrones thing where it's like a primitive, it's like a
Hmm.
cave from ancient times or something, but like I don't think that's true. I don't think those names have been on there that
They shouldn't have been
long.
there longer than shouldn't have been there
The
before these people were
characters
born,
like
at
were
least.
alive. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, they're not that old. So it's like, yeah, don't you and clearly from the lighthouse, because the names are written nicely on little slots when you turn the little dial, like with the
Hmm.
compass points. Like, look at that, nice and neat. He knows how
Hmm.
to write. Like,
Hmm.
why not even just
So
use
now
paper?
I want to just say, I know Jacob takes credit for being at the lighthouse, but like, I mean, at the cave, but like, I want to be like, yeah, Man in Black is lying in this scene, and this is his cave, and you know what I mean? Like, I
I
really
mean,
wish
that's
that
just
was
the
true.
better version of the story. That's really what it should have been.
Hmm.
It would have made more sense, and it would have been more interesting that the Man in Black is actually like doing a thing. It would have
Yeah.
added a little
That's
extra
part of his
dimension.
loophole because he needs to
Exactly.
figure out which one of the people whose name is on this list like is the one he's going to do his ultimate loophole with, right?
Yeah.
Who because he says, "Oh, what did he say? Like I had to um take Locke's body because he's a candidate, or I had to kill him or whatever." But like there's so many other candidates, so why him?
Right.
And he glosses over, well, it's easier for him because I set up this whole thing where he's could be the leader of the others because of the time traveling thing, and then that way that'll give me more influence because I need to round everybody up, and if I pick a candidate who will have a big following, as leader of the others, then that makes it he's a better choice for that reason versus like picking like someone who isn't that. Um, yeah, I feel like that just that part of his plan really isn't fleshed out at all. And he
Yeah.
was just, oh, he's a king, but there's so many other people you could have picked.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I think the show is running into a problem that I think a lot of shows with big casts have where it's always awkward to have, like some development happens and now like all the characters need to learn about that. And like how do you write that in without just repeating yourself over and over again. Sometimes you get them together in a group and they just all
Hmm.
find out, and sometimes they don't even write anything and the characters just know, and you just assume that like someone told them like off screen. Like sometimes they don't really even
Hmm.
bother, and then other times they're just walking around having no idea. They're just like, what, who's a what now? Like there's a huh?
Yeah.
Like it's like I just think it's hard. The characters are like all over the place right now. They're fairly separated in like little groups or even individually in the case of Sawyer. And the information is like, I guess the show's always been like this, but it's sort of extra uh difficult here because it implicates them all. Like a lot of the plots in the past were like they could kind of opt out of them if they wanted to,
Hmm.
like but in this case, like, your candidate, like you kind of need to know.
Yeah, I think it would have been really interesting to see a version of the plot here where they are all invested in being candidates, and perhaps some of them, invested in being the new Jacob.
Yeah.
And they could have been lured into that by basically saying, whoever becomes the leader will be have access to power,
Yeah.
and therefore whatever goal you sort of just generally have, you'll be able to accomplish that if you become the leader. And that would
Yeah.
have been an interesting thing for some of these. Like some characters wouldn't want that and wouldn't necessarily care, but then you could see someone like Kate or right, like, wait, Kate, maybe you could right your some wrongs, the guilt that you
Hmm.
have, or oh, you want to get Claire home? Well, hey, if you're the leader of the island, you can snap your fingers and
Right.
her and Claire are reunited. Like things
Yeah.
like that. I think would have been an interesting thing to kind of organize a direction for some of the characters towards the end of like what they're doing, and then you can have like some competition of, well, maybe it should be me, oh, maybe it should be that kind of thing. And but yeah, I think they just kind of miss out on a bunch of angles there with the candidate thing, because basically they're presenting, you know, sort of in a way the biggest idea on the end game of the show, right? I mean,
Yeah.
not considering the Flash Sideways, but just the island stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
where this is all coming down to who, and it ties into the origin of the show, like why these people, right?
Hmm.
Because candidates to take over for Jacob. That's the
Yeah.
central end goal of like that part of the island plot.
Yeah.
And it seems like, yeah, like you said, most people barely know or not plugged in or don't care. And
Yeah.
it's really weird, that they did some, yeah, some of them never even find out, right?
Uh. Yeah. Uh. Are there characters who never find out? I don't
Like,
know.
did
Maybe
Sun
not.
and Jin find out?
I think they do. I think they do because like they both end up in groups where it's known,
Mm-hmm.
like somebody knows. Like Jin, ends up uh in uh uh, the Man in Black's group with Sawyer for a while, and Sun is over in Jack's group, and so like
Mm-hmm.
and with Alana, Lana's there, and like she knows about it.
Okay.
I think they find out eventually, but it is true that most of them, and by most, I think, as I think about it, I actually mean all but Jack, don't care. They
Mm-hmm.
have no interest in doing it, and that includes Hurley. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to do it even when he's given the job. He's like, no, not
Yeah.
me. I don't want to do it. Eventually he accepts the idea, but like he's not even interested in doing it.
Yeah, it's weird that the big reason they're all there, the answer to guys, where are we in the pilot, the like whole, you know what I mean? Like the questions they had been searching for the entire time. There is, a central answer to at least the sort of mechanics of why they're there through Jacob, right? That like
Hmm.
they don't even care about.
Yeah.
It's like it's like when you have a question and it's been like 6 years past, and you're like, I don't really actually, I don't care to answer that question. Sorry.
Yeah, I actually I would say that's something about the show in general that, is frustrating to me that, in general, like most of the characters don't care about much of anything to do with the island. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's part that, in the early part of the show, I think that was a big aspect of the appeal of Locke because he was, more or
Yeah.
less the only character who did care about what was going on the island. It was trying to and failing, but trying to, figure things out, trying to uncover the mystery of why they're there and what's going on and all that. And once he dies, it's sort of like it's kind of on Jack, I guess, to be that character. And I think I think Jack's arc is satisfying, but the thing is that, and I guess you could say this for Locke too, but I feel like Jack doesn't actually care about the mysteries of the island. He cares more about, like, I don't know, fulfilling his destiny or somehow like believing he has what it takes or whatever. It's like a personal thing. And yeah, as I'm saying that, it's like that was true for Locke too. Like he
Mm-hmm.
was motivated by his own whatever. Um but I guess I still feel that Jack doesn't actually get pulled in
Yeah,
to
it's a
the
different
intrigue
type of
the way
thing.
Locke
He
did.
gets more open to it, but then he sort of
Yeah.
closes his focus into the plot resolution and not like a spiritual idea of why he's there and what that means. And they could have connected that with, like you're saying, like having him basically, because he and Locke are very similar, they have this fundamental lack of confidence in a way. And then yeah, Jack is the skeptic the whole time. Then with season 4 and all that stuff, then it should have been okay. Now he's coming around to it. There is a reason this island is important. You know what I mean? Like there is something to be understood here. I finally get that. So when he comes back, he should sort of be in the Locke season 1 position where he's
Yeah.
interested in exploring the island and proving a point that there is a reason that they're there, and whether it's fate or destiny or not, that there's something more to be understood. And then when he is told he's a candidate, then that should align with that idea and go, okay, so this is why we're here, and this is how I'm gonna, make peace with all this through this whole candidate thing. And but yeah, it just kind of didn't go that way. They sort of steered clear of making that through line.
Yeah.
Um,
So since like no one's investigating the mysteries, like there's a lot of mysteries in this season that they throw out there and that we talked about and will talk about again, I'm sure, that like no character ever really cares about
mhm.
at all. It's on the audience to care about it if you want,
Yeah,
you know?
if you want.
And it's like maybe I shouldn't have, but it's like but it was interesting and I was hoping that somebody would care about it at some point. But yeah, it is a weird feature of the show that like that central aspect of like what's happening to them is really just not interesting to most of them.
Hmm.
They're just not like there's just like whatever, I just want to leave now. And with Sawyer, like it totally makes sense. I mean, with all the characters, more or less, like it makes sense why they would have that attitude. But I do
Hmm.
agree that I kind of wish there were a couple more characters who really got invested in it. And yeah, like someone who was like, yeah, I want to replace Jacob. It's like Jack just accepts it serenely, but that's
Hmm.
not the same, It's like, no, I want to do it. I want to like do something with this, not just like this is my destiny and I must fulfill it. Like, like sort of passively, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it's a weird, I don't know. It's weird that doesn't matter more than it
He's
does.
resigned to it versus he's seeing it as a way to get his ultimate goal.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This is just like what has to happen. Like it's
Hmm.
supposed to be this way, blah blah blah. We weren't supposed to leave, blah blah blah. Like but all of that is just very abstract. Like it does seem like when it comes to any details, he just it's this is just how it's supposed to be, man. Like it's very like mellowed out, weird, detached kind of perspective that like there's nothing wrong with it, but it is not a substitute for how Locke was in season 1,
Hmm.
if you will,
Yes. No, not at all.
in the substitute, episode.
And again, we said this before, but it would have been nice for they try to get this emotional weight out of Jack seeing Locke dead, and he didn't listen to him when he said we have to go. When Locke said
Hmm.
we got to go back to the island, and he should have listened. And like Jack could have taken that, and it would have been an example of him actually feeling guilty about not believing Locke if he had said, "Listen, one thing I know about this island is there's a reason we're here. John Locke proved that." You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
there's a mystery here that Locke saw that I was blind to, but now I'm not, and I'm gonna find what it is,
yeah,
kind of a thing. Because I feel like that's what the audience wants. We want like because Locke was right.
yeah,
So we want someone to agree that he was right, and
yeah,
everyone around is just saying he's dumb and he's stupid and he was wrong and he didn't even know why he might have been right, and it's just so unsatisfying to for that to be said over and over and over again about Locke.
yeah, 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 definitely. I mean, yeah, but yeah, Locke's character arc is very
Perfect.
frustrating.
It was a perfect character arc. Read the transcript.
Oh god. I have read the transcript.
Oh
I don't think it
man.
says what you think it says.
Then you read the wrong one. Read the one that vindicates me.
It's
Oh,
just like
God.
I'm just trying to like okay, like basically all the characters come to understand that there's a smoke monster on the island. Looks like the form of someone who died, and wants to leave the island. And also, like, many of them are
And
there to,
also,
yeah. I know, it's like I could stop there, but it's just amazing to me that they put up with that and they just kind of shrug it off. I don't
Mhm.
know. It's weird to me. I'm not demanding that every single one of them, like, what I have in mind right now is, like, remember Caesar? Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
I really appreciate the fact that Caesar, for what a waste that character was, for whatever reason that happened. Like, his thing, like, when they crash on the Hydra Island, is like, I'm going through this shit. Like, what the fuck is this place? Who are these people? What are they
Yeah.
doing here? I'm looking
Yeah.
through the. I'm gonna, like, I'm gonna try to, like, investigate the strangeness. I'm not just gonna, like, say, well, whatever. Let's leave now. It's fine if some characters say that, but it is frustrating when they all say that.
Yes.
I just yeah, I wish there had been a little more of that. And, like, if Locke has to die, I wish there was a proper, like, if not successor to Locke, at least someone to, like, fulfill an aspect of that
Mhm.
character.
Mhm.
Which is, specifically, like, someone who gives a shit about any mysteries on the show.
Mhm.
Like, it's just so strange. So strange how indifferent they are to all that stuff. And I think, looking at it now, it's like, well, if the show's about the characters and the characters don't care about those mysteries, then I should have realized what that means is that the show doesn't care about those things and I should just, like, let it go. But that's not what I did.
Mm-mm.
And that's why we're here today.
Well, that's an interesting idea, right? I guess that's an interesting question. Sort of generally speaking, is a show about what the characters care about? Is that true for shows?
Like, I don't know if it's true, like, because, I think, who am I to say? Like, I don't, I think there are various ways you can look at it. What I will say with some confidence is I have learned that in a show that Damon Lindelof runs, looking at
Hmm.
it that way is less likely to lead to disappointment.
That sounds really fair. Yep.
Because he definitely approaches things that way. Should it be that way? Does it have to be that way? You know, I leave that to the philosophers. I don't know.
Hmm.
That's a hard question. Like, I do think shows should be about what they're about to some extent.
Yeah.
And not just like, well, if we show all this stuff, but the characters don't care about it, then it shouldn't matter. Like, I don't really believe that, but that is functionally,
Well,
like,
yeah, I'm
how
just
it
wondering if
works.
that happens as, sort of maybe to have a point. Well, all these characters are obsessed about this thing, but the show's really about this thing, and therefore that's part of the theme of they're
Hmm.
obsessed about the wrong thing. Or are shows just always about what the characters are concerned with, and that
Yeah. I
never
mean, I
happens?
do feel like that is true to some extent,
Yeah, yeah.
because, most shows, like, focus on characters, and ultimately whatever happens, like, what happens to the characters is the most important thing. I've seen enough shows where that, you know, I can't think of a show where that doesn't work.
Yeah.
The only kind of show I think where that doesn't work is a very high concept, maybe anthology type show like The Twilight Zone or something. Where you don't even have continuing characters. You just have, like, a
Yeah.
new story every week, and the point really is the plot,
Hmm.
because that's where all the, interest is. They can't develop a character if it's just like you see them one time ever.
Sounds like a good challenge.
Or at least, like, it's very limited what you can do with a character in that short amount of time. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think there is something to the way TV works with continuing characters that, like, forces them down that road of, like, whatever the characters care about is what really matters.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the substitute. Yeah, who was the substitute? So Locke's the substitute
It
because
was Locke, yeah.
Ben already works there.
So I think, like, Locke was a substitute, and I guess the double meaning is the substitute for Jacob.
the permanent substitute for Jacob.
Yeah, it's permanent. It's a permanent position. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a weakened algae, but I do feel like there's at least a hint of that idea
I thought you
there.
were gonna say Man in Black substituting for Locke.
Oh, you could put it that way.
Yeah, he's the
That works
substitute.
too.
Hmm.
I like that. I like that.
Crazy. Well, this episode wasn't great, but yeah, I mean, I guess the big interest is like, what's Man in Black's plan?
Yeah, which, is a little
He's
bit deflated when you
recruiting.
know what's going to happen there. Oh, did you do you want the spoiler about Locke's dad,
I started to
or do you want to
remember
just wait for it?
something. Yeah, I'm trying to. I have a vague memory because we see his dad later, right? They're
Yeah,
acting
we
like
do.
best friends or something.
Not exactly.
No.
I mean, like it's yeah. I mean, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah. You can spoil me. I mean, it's not really a
Okay,
spoiler.
so this is gonna be a great spoiler because I actually don't remember the details, so I might get a slightly.
Ah,
But I
so got
remember
those
the
flowers.
gist of the idea, which is that yeah, so he and his dad definitely got along like way better. But what we find out is that they were like I don't know, like maybe Locke got his pilot's license, or maybe it was his dad. I'm not sure. It was probably Locke though, because like Locke being like sad about doing things is like his like main mode of existence. So I feel like
Huh.
probably it was Locke who had the pilot's license, and the plane, he crashed the plane, and his father was like put into this like vegetative state where he can't talk anymore. And I think
Mm.
maybe he's in a wheelchair too. So they go
Oh.
visit him later on, and like he can't talk at all. And so yeah, anyway. And like Locke
Oh.
feels guilty about it,
That's completely different than what I was remembering, which
It's
didn't
kind of
happen, I
flipping the
guess.
script. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
instead
they
of Locke's dad hurting Locke, Locke
yeah, pushing
hurt his
him out of the
dad.
window. He hurts his dad, and yeah, that's the that's the turn they make. But I think the implication is that before that happened, they did get along better, and I guess that might mean that his dad isn't Sawyer
Hmm.
in the flesh sideways. Though I think maybe we don't find that out because we don't find
Hmm.
out any more, about that story.
Yeah. Uh. Yeah. So wait, what's the point of the Flash Sideways?
This is a place that they all made together so that they could find one another and remember and move on and
Remember
let
and move
go.
on and let go. Don't forget the letting go. That's the important
Yeah,
part.
yeah. To remember and let go and move on. That's yeah. I
Wow.
mean, that's what Christian says at the end. So if you're going to ask me, Jack's like, what is this place? That's the answer we get. I can't do any better than that. What else do you want?
Okay, so then that means that the Flash Sideways should actually be horrible to make like it should because I always used to think like the point of the Flash Sideways was this was like a better version of their life.
It feels like it's partially that and partially worse. Yeah, it's a weird
It's it should
mix.
it should actually be bad because the point is to remember. So that means they should be always confronted with their central conflict from
Yeah,
their past, even in this new world they created, because that's what's going to make them remember, right? And that's
right.
what's going to make them wake up. And then they go, "Oh, I have a lot of baggage.
Yeah,
Now I remembered the baggage, and now I
yep.
can let go of the
Let it
baggage, and
go.
now we can move on."
Yeah,
Now, the thing about that to me is would want me to think from that is that somehow they, if they all made this place together, it's almost like unconsciously they knew that they wouldn't be able to let go and move on without needing to create a place like this. It's almost like they're saying like, well, I know my friends are fucked up. Like, if we don't create a place together where we can remember and let go and move on, then we'll never be able to do it. You know what I mean? Like, there's some idea that without this place, they wouldn't, these particular people, and, in general, or specifically, I mean, wouldn't have the ability or capability to let go of their life's drama to move on to
Yeah.
the afterlife, if you get my meaning there.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting idea. I don't know where that would have come from, but yeah, okay. Well,
I think for me, some of the lingering questions are like, does this happen for everybody? Did this just
Mhm,
happen for them because they were on the island? The other people that appear there who don't move on with them, like Kimi
mhm.
and even Ethan,
Mhm.
and there's all these like
Well,
Widmore,
yeah, I want to
like
say
is that
like
really them? Are they in the same Flash Sideways, or is it
yeah.
just some kind of fake
Mhm.
avatar version?
Mhm.
I mean, with Miss Hawking, like it's heavily implied that it's really. I mean, the way the way they portray her, it strongly suggests it's the real Miss Hawking there. And it's like, if it's the real Miss Hawking, why would it be the fake anybody else? I mean, she's not in the church.
Mhm.
She's
Well,
not.
it's like we said before, like everyone's in their own version of that, and one person's flash sideways bubble interacts with another person's, but they
Yeah,
can detach when their sphere of consciousness or whatever is out of range. It's like a cell
right.
phone. Do you know cell phones? Okay,
Yeah.
so it's like cell phones,
It's almost like they have separate but interacting holodeck simulations happening at the same
which was
time.
what the civil rights movement was about, right? Separate but interacting. Did I get it right? Am I remembering wrong?
It's pretty close. It's pretty
Okay.
close.
Yeah, it's a weird idea and yeah, I mean those are the big questions. I would actually want to say that maybe the point is everyone doesn't need a flash sideways. That these people are specifically broken, right? The people that Jacob, out of
Hmm.
all the billions of people in the world, Jacob chose these people, right?
Right,
So
right.
does that mean, the sort of cream rises to the top, right? They were the most sort of broken, so broken, in fact, that they were going to need a second life.
An extra time
Yeah,
around to like deal with their
yeah.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I wonder if that's maybe part of the idea that not everyone, it's not an operative question if everyone goes to has a flash sideways, right? It's more like, does everyone need to, right? Some
Yeah.
people can skip this and go straight to heaven or whatever then after the church doors, right?
Yeah, okay. Then I would just slightly change the question to, can everyone potentially? You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
is that an option? Depending, it's
So
almost
then
like a
now we get
purgatory or something.
into asking, is it their specific contact with the island
Yeah.
that made this happen, right? Because the alternative could be, well, these same people met each other off island and had, let's say they were in a bowling league together. Let's say
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
Okay. But
Yeah.
they're
They
still
have
the
some
same,
adventures.
yeah, they're still the same screwed up people. I'm not even really saying about like they went through a lot of adventures together. Just mainly they were a group of
Oh,
people who
okay.
knew each other, right? They were acquainted in some
I was
way.
thinking the Big Lebowski.
And yeah, they're all out of their element here. And then, but they're still, in respective to their own lives, really, really, really broken. But okay, so then they
Hmm.
die. Now,
Yeah.
is it because they're so broken they'll get a flash sideways?
Hmm.
Or is it no, they don't because they didn't live through crazy adventures together?
Right.
Like, do you need
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
things?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And do you need like like if you're a single individual who never has crazy adventures with anyone else, but you're super broken, do you get your own singular flash sideways? Like it's just there's other people there, but they're not real. And then,
Nobody does it alone.
but you still,
I
but you
think Christian
still
says
have
that.
your wait. Nobody builds their own flash sideways alone.
Well, he doesn't say that, but he does say nobody does it alone, which, doesn't necessarily mean that it's absolutely impossible for a single person to do the thing. But it does suggest to me that part of the point of the Flash Sideways is to make connections with people.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely leaves open the question of that you're bringing up, is like, what if you're someone who never made connections with people? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do then? Are you just screwed forever, even in the afterlife? Like, fuck
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, that's annoying. My life was bad enough. Like, why I gotta like now I don't get shit in the afterlife either.
Mhm. You
Like,
should
come
have
on,
had some friends.
it's bullshit.
Hmm.
I tried, all right? It was hard.
Did you try? Could you've tried harder? Yeah, maybe that's what ghosts are. You're just stuck as a ghost.
You're just
You
like a
don't get to
ghost
move
forever.
on.
Oh man, that sucks.
Hmm.
You don't want to be a ghost, Jack.
Jack, go make some friends and have some adventures, or else you're gonna be a ghost. That's just how the world works.
I know that's like kind of dumb sounding, and I don't actually want to hear that line, but like I kind of wish they had done that. Like I guess to be more specific, like I wish that they had explicitly tied together the ghosts and the afterlife thing, because I think the
Hmm.
connection between the ghosts and the flash sideways and then whatever happens after that was like
Hmm.
really ambiguous. Like I don't understand it. For example, like we saw Charlie, appear to Hurley. Now, I kind of think maybe that was a Man in Black, so perhaps it's a bad example, but um but there
You
are
mean that time
like,
he left the island, even though he can't leave the island?
yeah, I know, right? It's kind of a problem. It doesn't really work. But I think we do have, at the very least with Michael, we have an explicit example of like someone who is a ghost,
Hmm.
who says like, well, we're the ones who can't move on, so now we whisper. Of course, that's like a specific to the island thing, so it
Hmm.
leaves open the question of like, what happens if does everyone just become a ghost
Hmm.
everywhere? But like, then why don't we have whispers
Or maybe
everywhere?
we do, Justin. Maybe we
Oh God.
do. Have you ever heard a whisper?
No,
You've
I've
never,
never heard a
you've
whisper outside
never heard,
this show.
you've never heard anyone whisper in your entire life.
No, God, whispers? No, that's so weird. That's like some weird thing that only
No
happens on
one's
TV.
ever said to you language in a hushed tone.
No, God, everyone
All
speaks to me
right.
at maximum volume all
All
the
right.
time.
Well,
It's
then,
exhausting.
then you're lucky. Yeah. So, yeah, I agree.
Ghost whispering. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, the ghost whispering is super weird. And they could have tied that into to Miles, right? Like
Yes, yeah,
he's
yeah,
talking to
yeah.
dead
Hurley
people
and
and
Miles's thing. They had a talk about it, but I do think like when you start introducing all of these afterlife elements, it's just weird to have them kind of separate. Like it's like, shouldn't
I
there be
think
some general connection between these
you
things?
know, I was just thinking with Hurley and these sort of tacit powers related to death, this necromancy, right? We talked
Mhm.
about Man in Black being a necromancer, and
Yeah,
Miles
yeah, yeah.
and
He's
Hurley
definitely a necromancer.
have low level necromancy powers
Yeah.
with
He's
their
like the
interaction with
shittiest
the dead.
necromancer ever. He's like, I didn't do that.
He's an overly humble, insecure necromancer. But I was just thinking, since
That's a generous interpretation.
yeah, since Hurley ends up being the new man in charge, right, of the island,
Hmm.
I feel like and the biggest reason for this idea is that he's got these powers to see dead people. Um, they should have revealed that Hurley was born on the island. That should have been like a surprise because I think it would only have made more sense to explain why he has that power.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah. I agree.
I think it would have made sense in the new man in charge to when they come and get Hurley or something, and then they're like, not to make it like a monarchy thing, like this is your birthright,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they could have given some sort of evidence, like a photo or something of his mom with the baby and Dharma or something, or
Mhm.
like some weird thing of like we found proof, Hugo, like you were born in the eye. This among other reasons is why you should come back and why you should be
Mhm.
the man in charge or whatever. So I think that would maybe been the place to do it and not have it be in the main storyline of the series. Just have it be a detail reveal at the end, um, and that would have closed that weirdness. That why does he even have these powers? Like we like because Miles, oh, he's born on the island. Okay, Sure, maybe that's
Right.
why, you know.
Yeah, that's supposed to be the reason. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I do think that's a general thing. I'll throw in Desmond in that category
Mm,
too,
mhm,
where
mhm,
he has powers, but it's not clear if the island gave him the powers or if he had them before,
mhm,
like separately. Like in the case of Hurley, I don't like I think it's a bit confusing. Like they show him seeing Dave, right? And like
mhm,
Dave is portrayed as an imaginary friend,
mhm,
but then is the Dave that he sees on the island a different Dave? Was Dave actually a ghost the whole time?
mhm,
Like it's very ambiguous. The true 100% definitely a ghost slash man in black apparition or whatever. That stuff does seem like it happens after he leaves the island, with which feels like aside from the Dave thing, it leaves open the possibility that that he acquired it because he was on the island, not necessarily born there, but like as an effect. You know what I mean? Same thing for Desmond. That like
mhm,
he acquired it from being on the island, perhaps from turning the failsafe or whatever. This ability to like resist electromagnetism and do consciousness traveling, and you know what I mean?
mhm,
Like, however Miles got it, Miles didn't even. I mean, he was just like born there and then he left. Like, I don't think he really did anything. It's like it
mhm,
just affected him somehow. So maybe that's the thing, but they never really tie it together. It's weird to have multiple characters with supernatural powers seemingly connected to the island, but not necessarily, and
mhm,
to not even really say anything about that. I think that's
mhm.
really weird.
Yep. And Walt would have potentially been another
Oh yeah,
character.
Walt's a good example too. Yeah,
Yeah, who would have been in that
not
role.
born on the island and seemingly had powers before he ever was on the island.
Mhm.
Like he's special, quote unquote, whatever that means.
Yeah. And they could have done a thing. This would have been maybe a bit too far to try to explain, but they could have done a thing and said that, with the cra I would imagine this to be true in a sense that the sort of stuff in the light cave and the whole life and death and everything in between, sort of that thing is so primal that it exists, irrespective of time, right? Like, so I could imagine that it's sort of this weird sort of time, what do they call it, conundrum, a time conundrum. You're familiar with that common phrase?
The well-known
um
time conundrum. Yeah,
time
absolutely.
conundrum. um I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but basically, like, they could have basically said, okay, yeah, hey person, you have power that came from the island, but you don't actually have to be born there as long as you have went to the island at some point. So like
Oh,
Mile, you know what I mean? So like Hurley doesn't come to the island until he's, way to adulthood, right?
yeah,
But like that connection to that energy could ripple through space time basically,
hmm,
and then his power to see dead people manifest in an earlier time period, but the origin was when he actually came to the island. If
right.
that, see what I'm saying? So like they could
Yeah,
have maybe done a thing like that, to
yeah,
try to
yeah. The island
explain
is
it.
very timey-wimey, so
It's
that would make
there. It is. It's
sense.
timey wimey. Time conundrum was too highbrow. I should have said timey wimey. Yeah, it's timey wimey's all over the place. I think, yeah, I remember that scene when Dan was doing strict science and he said, hmm, time seems wimey on this island. I know what the problem is. It's timey wimey. He took out a timey wimey gauge and it was off the charts.
Gotta measure this.
1 metric timey wimey. It's too much.
No, I like that idea though. In general, I think I think it sort of makes sense, and
Yeah,
I
the same
think
way Desmond's consciousness can time travel, right?
yeah,
And all this
yeah,
time
it
travel. So I think
fits.
they could have maybe shoehorned an idea like that in there.
Yeah. It is like his ability traveled to the past
Mm-hmm.
in a way,
Mm-hmm.
and affected the past. It's like if he can do that through the island, then yeah, it would actually work to have like the other characters not born on the island, but it still comes from the
Mm-hmm.
island ultimately.
Another thing they could have done is said that Jacob gave them these powers, or
Yeah.
did something, like maybe he didn't know how the power would manifest, but basically he charmed them in a way so that they would want to come back to the island. So he sort of
Right.
gave them something that would lead them through a series of events to come back to the island.
Yeah.
And blame Jacob.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they almost say that, but it doesn't necessarily correlate to abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes it does, but other
Yeah.
times like it seems like it's just like, oh, I gave you a character flaw or something, but you're
Mm-hmm.
broken already, but I just added to it a little bit.
It also would have been cool if they would have said something like that to Jack. That would have rocked his world. But to say, Jack, do you think you're just a really good surgeon? I mean, come on, Jack.
Oh,
Statistically, you should have had at least one, death by now, or you know what I mean, or like
yeah.
statistically, you're an outlier statistically for surgeons your age. Where do you think you thought that was just your natural
Yeah.
talent?
Oh man. Yeah,
you know?
they definitely could have taken that further if they wanted
Hmm.
to like include the other characters.
Yeah.
Like they could say Sawyer got his conning skills. They could
Hmm.
there's definitely like, yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting. You think it's a coincidence that yeah, wow.
Yeah, Kate,
I can hear the
you think
scene.
you're just born to run? I mean,
You eluded law enforcement for years
uh-huh.
and years, like
Hmm.
went through various like yeah, that's
And there's some reasons
interesting.
they can't do that. You don't want to sort of take away the interesting parts of a character. You don't want to let them
Right.
it
Say it
be
doesn't
their
come from
own
them. It's all
agency.
like the
Yeah,
outside.
but like
Yeah.
with Jack, you could say, Jacob has healing powers, so you could say like he
Right.
added to Jack's ability to heal people or something. So you could sort of
Yeah.
do some of those things you could kind of get away with, I think.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's super weird, but yeah, okay, so it's super. Yeah, I remember vague memories of watching this the first time, and yeah, just really being interested in what this plan is. Man in Black has a plan. He's recruiting names on the wall, on the
Oh
character
yeah, yeah. I
wall.
was like, ooh, yeah,
Hmm.
there was high hopes back then for like what the conflict could look like.
Hmm.
I do think they fumble that in the end, but yeah, I will give them points for like potential intrigue, if not for actual intrigue.
Yeah.
I think the episode was reasonably entertaining.
Hmm.
I like the scene with Rose. I thought that was pretty good. In general, like I think I'll give him credit for the crossovers in the Flash Sideways because they're done in a way that actually acknowledges who the character is that they're crossing over with. It's not just
Hmm.
like they are serving a function, but they're also leading their own lives.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like I like that. I don't know. It always feels cheap to me when they do crossovers, but it's just artificial.
Hmm.
Like this is just so we could say like, oh look, these characters cross paths, but
Like
like
when
there's an
somebody bumps
actual
into someone else, and there's
yeah,
no actual meaning to the scene. It's just,
yeah.
yeah.
It's just kind of a cheap moment, I guess. But like
Hmm.
Rose is actually talking about her cancer, and Hurley's actually like, functioning as the lottery winner, owner of the box company, you know, like doing a thing that he would actually do.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I think I feel like the Flash Sideways, for all its problems, might in some ways be more successful than the Island Story
I could
on
buy
its own
that.
terms.
Yeah.
You know,
So
that
I
doesn't necessarily make it better, but I just think like it's a little better, like at a more coherent or a more it achieves the thing that it's trying to achieve in a cleaner way.
hmm more successful or
Yeah, because
something.
I just the on island stuff is just so sloppy sometimes. He's stuck that way. Okay. Like I don't know. There's just so
And
much
she says it
bullshit.
with such certainty too. That's another
Yeah.
problem. Is like, why are you so sure about that?
I know, and no one questions it. That is the
Hmm.
last we're gonna get on that topic.
Yeah.
Like, really? We move on now? And like, Man in Black, like, okay, Richard, come with me. Like, what? Like, I'm gonna throat punch you and take you, and I'm gonna take the others later, but I'm not gonna tell them now because why? Like, what are you doing? Like,
Hmm.
it's weird. I get Sawyer, he wants to kill the candidates, but like, this whole recruiting thing is so like, and Alana just says it authoritatively, and it's like, but you've been wrong about like the last 5 things you said. Like, why? I hate having to accept something from a character who's just like wrong a lot. Like, but then it's like, but if I don't believe it, what am I supposed to believe? Because we're not told anything
It's the
else.
only thing. Yeah.
Same thing with the cabin, like she has the final word on the cabin too.
Yeah.
It's like she's almost like Lennon in a way, where she just like runs in, closes like a mystery plot with like a lot a like really inadequate line, and that's all
Hmm.
we ever
That's Lennon style.
get. And then she just blows up in the end. It's yeah, it's very disappointing. I feel like there was definitely potential for that character that was totally squandered, and I don't know if it was just because uh they felt like they wanted to devote more time to the main characters, and they didn't want to like spend time building up this new character or
Hmm.
something. But yeah, I there's like this diminishing returns thing that happens with shows, where it's like you want to pay off the things you invested in earlier, but it's
Hmm.
like, also though, you don't want to just introduce like disposable new characters, right? I mean, doesn't that isn't that just kind of a waste of time? Like, I
Yeah,
don't
of
know.
course you don't, Nikki and Paulo, want to do that. Wanna do- Oh.
There's like Zoe and Seamus, and there's just like,
Oh no. Not
yeah, we're gonna get into
Zoe. Oh no.
that.
So I want to bring up real quick. I was just kind of like scanning through the episode real quick as we were talking here, and I came
Oh,
across a shot of Locke when he's substituting,
mm-hmm.
and on the whiteboard in the background is it's like what do you call it, a uterus. and
Oh, one of those, yeah.
yeah, and then on the other side it says the beginnings of the life cycle, and it has 4 steps here. It has conception and implantation. Step 2 is I can't, maybe it says embryonic growth, maybe that's what that says. Step 3 is fetal development, and step 4 is labor.
Mm,
And I was thinking, like, why is this on the board? Like, if for any reason besides it's appropriate to the subject. But I was
right.
just thinking about Locke's character, and how when he starts off, he's told that he was immaculately concepted. So I don't know. I thought
Mm-hmm.
this was an interesting connection to him being this like biology substitute and having to talk about reproduction, given like his history on that whole thing with his parents and
Right.
his whole lineage, and then like just the general ideas of a cycle of life. Um, and Locke is usually in the labor part.
Indeed.
And yeah, I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I didn't notice the board, but they do love like filling
Hmm.
those background materials with something like thematically vaguely relevant or something like that. Like, I remember that stuff from the mental institution. But yeah, he's teaching about human sexuality, which is not a class I want to take from Locke, no offense.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Like, that's gonna be awkward AF, as
Yeah.
the kids say.
Yeah. Not these kids though. That they didn't say that back then, but kids today
No,
would
you're
say that.
right. They couldn't have said that back in
Yeah.
2010 in the afterlife.
Mm-mm. No.
Are they
No.
all dead kids, by the way? All right. I don't know.
Okay. Next subject.
Yeah,
I was
I
gonna say
just realized
yeah.
there's like a
Let's
whole school full of people there.
those are all the kids who couldn't move on.
I
They're in
guess.
their own.
This
Yeah.
sucks. We have to go to school. The afterlife. I hate it. I die for this.
Oh man, yikes. Um, I was gonna say, Richard, his response to, or lack of response when Man in Black's like, yeah, Jacob didn't tell you anything about this stuff, and
Oh.
yeah,
I hate that. That's so dumb. Like, come on. Jacob didn't tell him. Like, it's so basic. Jacob
hmm
told everybody. Jacob told
Jacob
Alana
told
about it.
everybody.
Jacob put a fucking note in an Ankh and sent it to
Mhm,
Dogan. Like
mhm.
Jacob doesn't give a shit if people know about the candidates. Jacob wrote shit on a wall. Jacob doesn't care.
Hey, there was a hidden wall on a cliff, and that Ankh was in a guitar case that Richard didn't have access to.
It's just like,
And
it's
yeah,
just
I think
like,
what they here's what gets me about it. Like, I don't mind if you want to say, if you want to play that Richard surprised he didn't know the big picture, cool, that's fine. You can make that work. But where I kind of draw the line is to say that he was completely out of the loop on this thing, because he could have basically said, well, Jacob told me that he wouldn't be here forever.
yeah,
Jacob, he intimated that at some point he would need a replacement,
yeah,
and that's why, and he could even say, this is why the others were so important. This is why
yeah,
I needed to gather and protect the good people who come to this island, because I knew he would
yeah,
choose one of them. But then he could, draw the line and say he never mentioned the word candidates. He didn't say there
right.
was a list. He didn't say explicitly he was bringing to the island for that. But like, I think my point is, like, you can have Richard know a little bit to not make him look dumb as shit, and not make Jacob look dumb as shit, but still succeed in the goal of Man in Black having the higher status and being like, hey, I
Right.
know this thing you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But when you make him like, I had no idea of any of this for a
Yeah.
1,000 years I've been alive or whatever,
Yeah.
then that's like really, really, really bad.
It's like, well, what do you know,
Mhm.
asshole? Like,
Mhm.
what did you talk about?
Hashtag asshole. Oh, Richard's hashtag asshole. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely a degradation of the character that, is kind but they just
You
fucking
know what
fumble
makes
it
it also
because like
worse?
what? I have an
Okay,
extra thing I want to add to that. Go ahead.
what makes it actually worse is it also highlights how Richard has no long-term goal. That he's serving, he's
Right.
effectively immortal, serving someone who he believes is effectively immortal, and he was just
Yeah.
gonna do that forever.
Forever.
He
Yeah,
wasn't
there's
looking for an
no
out. He wasn't looking for
step
any.
two.
Yeah, and so that makes him look dumb
Yeah.
too. That, like, you didn't even know what was going on, and you were fine with that for eternity.
Yeah.
At least with normal people,
Yeah.
we die. Like,
Yeah.
it won't be an eternal like ridiculousness. So what were you gonna say?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so it gets to like this other problem I have with Richard where like on the one like I would be fine if so I feel like part of what they're doing with that is, Richard was living with the others. They don't want to go down the rabbit hole too much of like, well, if Richard knows everything,
Mm-hmm.
why didn't we find out about this shit earlier?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he's been around, he was with the others should have known about it, Ben should know about it,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera, right? So I kind of get why they want to limit Richard's knowledge. I do think that we should have had at least a line somehow from Jacob or whatever about like why he didn't tell Richard. I don't really
You
get
either need
that.
that, or again, you go back to my idea where Richard could have said, when Manwag's like, "Oh, he didn't tell you any about this candidates." He said, "Well, he told me there were people who were special, and I needed to protect them,
Yeah,
and now I
yeah,
understand
yeah,
why."
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm just going with like assuming we're stuck with he told
Yeah.
him nothing.
No, you're right. If we don't get the thing I'm talking about, then we definitely need a thing where Man in Black, I mean Jacob, explains why he didn't tell him that. Because it's one thing to say,
Yeah,
okay, listen, I've got a bet about the nature of good and evil and then humanity, soul, all this yada yada yada, and I need to, in order for the game to play out the way I think it should play out, I'm gonna be hands off, and I even with Richard, because I don't want to, I'm like a scientist and I don't want to
yeah,
influence the results. Okay, even if you buy that, right, it doesn't explain why he wouldn't tell him about the candidates.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I want to hear. And so I get that, but so the other thing where I feel like they just really really ruin things is when they finally get to Apaterno and we find out Richard's backstory. Like I feel like they were torn between we want something interesting to happen
Mm-hmm.
and Richard can't know too much.
Oh
And
yeah, that's a real rock and hard place.
so I
Oh,
feel like
excuse me, Black Rock and hard place.
indeed good, very, very apropos. Absolutely. So yeah, like I just feel like so in that episode they tell us that he knows, first of all, that there's a smoke monster who can look like dead people,
Mhm.
and he knows that that entity uh wants to kill Jacob and will like look like dead people in order to try to kill Jacob, right? He learns
You're
all
about
of
to
that.
outline a bunch of stuff that he knows and then summarily acted like he didn't know.
Exactly. That's where I think they fucked up, is like it's okay if Rich, like if you gotta say Richard knows nothing, like okay, but then Abaterno like me tells us he knows like some really pertinent shit that he did nothing about. You know, like Locke shows up and is like, "Yeah, I died, but I'm back," and he's like, "Okay, let's go see Jacob, no problem." Like what?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Like what's wrong with you, asshole? I'm sorry. He's not really an asshole, but I'm just irritated with the way the character's written. It's
Mhm.
just like pick a side, like let Richard know things or don't. But it's just
Or don't.
it's like he knows too much and not enough at the same
Mhm.
time. It's
Which makes him look dumb and stupid because
yes,
he's not using the knowledge that they said he has.
yeah. Exactly, exactly. And then like he doesn't know such a like it's like he didn't even ask the question like, "Well,
Mhm.
Jacob, are you going to do this job forever? Like, am
Mhm.
I going to do this forever?" Like that never came up. Are
Well,
you
and that's the thing
serious?
is the reason that's extraly frustrating is naturally within the world a character who has had extraordinarily long life would get frustrated with it,
Yeah.
especially living on an island like this.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying, so he would, it would make sense that at some point, maybe once every century, he would pester Jacob about what is the plan and why should I be doing this and how do we defeat the bad guy and when do we know we've won and what and you know what I'm saying, like it seems like it would have just been natural for Richard to be asking those questions, right? So it's one thing to say he should have asked those questions. It's another thing to be like, he's dumb that he never did, you
Yeah.
know, because it would have just been natural for him to want to know these things.
Yeah.
And or you know, have Richard say, Jacob told me never to ask me anything, never to
Right.
ask him anything
Yeah.
because of XYZ reason.
Sure,
You
sure.
know,
And that can be bullshit, but I think that would
yes.
be better than what they did.
Yes. Yeah.
Because at
Yeah.
least there would be like a clear line there of like, this is what Richard knows and this is why.
Mhm.
And it should fit with what we've seen him do. If you're gonna have him know things, then I think
Mhm.
you got to look at what he's done, and does it make sense that he knows that thing
Mhm.
with what you know? I
That
wish they
sounds
had
like
like.
screenwriting. I don't know if that's what you're describing, but I'm familiar with this thing called writing, and that sounds like it.
Yeah, it's and it wasn't even that. It's not like I'm talking about some detail from like episode
Mhm.
14 of season 2. Like I'm not
Yeah.
like going deep here. This was last
What?
season.
Hey, Justin, what episode is that?
Season 2, episode 14.
Mhm.
I believe that would be. Let's see. Can I actually come up with it? I think it's is it no, that's not the right. Oh, I have the wrong title in my head. It's oh shit, what is it called? Um oh, I almost have it. Oh, I'm so close. I think it's a Saeed episode. I want to say it's called The Greater Good, but that's the one from season 1. What is it called? Oh man.
You're definitely right about it's a side episode.
I think the one before it is uh Fire Plus Water, right?
You're close. Two before it is Fire Plus Water.
2 before it. Okay. Oh, is it one of them?
It's one of
Okay.
them. Nice.
Okay.
Good
Woo.
job.
Woo.
Thought I'd bring that back from the
Had to work
past.
my way back. Yeah, my episode title knowledge is not what it used to be, if I'm honest. Oh my god.
Dude, I would not have been any. I wouldn't even remember whose episode it
So Fire
was.
Plus Water was what? What did you say? It was 12 or
That's
11?
12. Yeah.
It's 12. Okay, so
13 is the long con.
oh, ooh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I would have put Long Con earlier. Okay. Okay. Long con.
That's because you got conned.
Right, because Fire Plus Water, yeah, like Charlie's doing the thing
Mm-hmm.
for the statues, and Sawyer's the new sheriff in town. That was the long con, right? Oh man,
Mm-hmm.
that was bad.
Yeah.
That was not a good plot at all.
Yeah. Middle of the season.
So yeah, like I do understand like if a show goes on for years and years and like way later it's like or like oh we forgot like there's this one little detail in this
Yeah.
episode that contradicts this thing we did late. Like this isn't like that. This was a major plot line in season 5 that literally ties into the end game that they're doing now. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's hard for me to believe that they forgot what happened in season
The
5.
thing that happened last season.
Yeah, like seriously? Like
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, I can't come up with a good excuse for what they do with Richard. It's a big fail.
Hey, here's a excuse for them to use that doesn't make any sense. When yeah, Jacob Richard goes through all that stuff and he lands on the island and all the Avaternal stuff, right? And then when at the end when he gets hired by Jacob basically, and Jacob touches him, granting him the long life, maybe he also erases his memory a little bit, very specifically about Man in Black.
Oh. Oh
this
my
is me.
god.
This is me doing the work for them.
Oh my god, that's funny. But that actually, yeah, I mean that would work. It's a little bit lame, but it would work.
But and I say that because it kind of reminds me of the fountain in the temple,
The temple
right?
thing,
So
yeah.
it heals you, but then
100%.
screws your memory,
He won't
right?
remember
He
this
won't
because it'd be
remember.
really awkward if he did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
So I don't know. I'll throw that
No,
out
you're
there.
right. They thought
It's a
about covering the
bad
tracks.
idea.
It's weak, but they at least thought about covering their tracks with that.
Hmm.
So yeah, you're right. That would have been one way to do it. Like,
Yeah.
well,
But then
I
they
don't
don't
want
get to
you.
have "I know who you are" kind of a thing.
True,
They don't get to
true.
have like him understanding.
And it's like, motherfucker, you should have said that earlier. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You
Hmm.
just marched him right to Jacob to die,
Yeah.
and now you're all like, "Ooh, I know who you are." Like, why?
Hmm.
Why you weren't even a little bit? Oh my
Hmm. Yep.
god, unbelievable. Yeah, definitely disappointing. Richard's like early stuff was so cool.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to maintain that, especially like the more you say about a character, like the mystique goes away, blah blah blah. But I think what they end up doing with this flashback is shallow anyway, and so it's like, and the
Hmm.
plot like gets ruined by it, so it's just like,
Yeah, he was good when Locke came to the others and he was trying to help Locke oust Ben. And like he
yeah,
had a sort of goal, right? He was good when he had a sort of thing he wanted to do. And I think they
yeah,
should have carried that through more, that he had a goal.
yeah. Maybe they could have like made that a thing, like that he was so I don't know why exactly. Oh right, it's because Locke time traveled and he told
Hmm.
Richard that he was
Hmm.
supposed to be the leader. That's
Hmm.
why he got invested in it. Okay, so that's a weird answer, but he's so invested in the idea that Locke should be the leader of the others that it blinds him to the fact, like. But I still think they
I
continue to.
don't I think the way you make an interesting character is you give you basically what you said, which was summed up as writing, is you give them the benefit of their knowledge, right? So he could have had like when Man in Black shows up as Locke and he's super confident and he knows what he wants to do. He's the man to see Jacob. He's doing things the real Locke would have never done,
Yeah,
right? So then you have Richard say, "I know John Locke more than I know most people. I visited him when he was born. I knew him when he
hmm
was a child. I knew him when he was a young man, and I knew him now, recently as an older man. And the one thing I'm certain is that's not John Locke." Like, imagine how amazing that would have been for him to say.
Yeah.
And put it together. And then they say, well, who else could it be? And then he goes, uh, if it's who I think it is, we're in trouble. Cut,
Yeah.
cut to the next scene or whatever.
Right.
And
Right.
that's the biggest thing I notice sometimes when I get really frustrated with writing is that, and we talked about this with Picard, is that writers don't give characters the benefit of piecing together the bits of pieces of things they know and coming up with a new idea, which is like what we do as human beings,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like the deduction of going, this guy's acting weird. I know what this guy's like. He's not acting like that. He's actually, so who else could it be if it's not the guy? Well, I also know in a separate bucket of knowledge that there's a person who can appear as other people. Oh, what if I put those two ideas together and that's not John Locke, that's Man in Black, you know? And I think it makes the audience like characters way better when they're not first of all several steps behind the audience, and number two, like beyond behind what their knowledge to suggest they could understand,
Yeah.
and I think that's what gets me is like, and even Ben too,
Yeah.
he's like, I choked the life out of John Locke. That is not John Locke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then obviously there's like, oh, it's the island. It's weird. People come back from the dead or whatever in weird ways. And I can totally understand being won over by that, or that blinding you to even going down the logical path of
Hmm.
wondering if it's really him. And they can totally play that out. But I think specifically with Richard, it just would have made way more sense if they could have had him piece that together sooner. On
Yeah.
his own because he had this background. He should have been has so much like PTSD or
Yeah.
post traumatic smoky disorder,
Yeah.
uh, and from his first encounter with Man in Black, impersonating his dead wife and
Yeah.
all the crazy stuff that happened, that he has been on his guard for impersonated people his entire life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He knows that the main villain on this island that he's serving Jacob in order to blah blah blah, right,
Yeah.
is an what's it called, an existential threat and an ever-present threat. And one thing he vowed to himself is he would never let his guard down. And now listen, hey, it's been 1,000 years. I let my guard down. Oops. Okay,
Right.
fine. But like, you got complacent. I get it. But
Yeah.
like, at least tie it together with his
Yeah, I
previous
wish they had played that
experience.
out. Like, I wish they had, if they're gonna do it, at least make a point of it. But they
Mm-hmm.
don't even really acknowledge that it was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So it just makes
And
me
and
feel like
again,
I'm
yeah, you're right.
crazy.
Exactly. Like they could have called it out and saying everything I just said. They could have tied that up with a bow by Man in Black going, "Wow, Richard, I'm surprised you weren't expecting me. Did you forget what I wanted? Did you forget who I am? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
call it out if Richard let his guard down and forgot what he was doing. Oh, Richard, laying around with the others for the last few decades has really, dulled your instincts, or something. Like, and have them insult them or whatever. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's ways they could have covered that and had their cake and eat it too.
Yeah. 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 I agree. Yeah, that would have been a lot better. That would have been so much better. And it would have given Richard like something to do that's like a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
interesting and contribute something. I don't know. I think he's like struggling to have anything to do at this point.
Yep.
Just like running around, like, I don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, that's your
Well,
character
and
now.
again, yeah, and like, and that's again, he doesn't have a real goal. His goal could be, first of all, he should be like, wow, if Jacob's dead, what does that mean for me? Am I still
Yeah,
going to age or not? Am I dying or not? Number two, what do I want out of life? Like, I don't know what I want. It's been so long. I've only wanted what Jacob told me I could want. Maybe I
right.
want something else now. Number three, oh, you killed the guy I was serving. Now my goal is to kill you, right? Like
Yeah,
that should be a thing.
yeah. He
Like,
sort of does that one. He has that big like I'm gonna bomb the plane plan.
oh, he tries to bomb the plane. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And thanks to him, that's why we get the submarine bomb because
yeah.
uh
Where'd that bomb come from?
Or did Widmore bomb the plane? Yeah, I think yeah, maybe Richard was gonna bomb the plane, but he got talked out of it. But Widmore actually does bomb the plane. I think
Maybe
that's what
that's what it
happens.
is. Okay,
Or
yeah.
was it that Richard is gonna blow up the submarine and then the Man in Black actually does it? I forget. He's gonna
I
blow up
think it's the
something.
plane thing.
Is it the plane? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I remember there's a plot line where he's like, all right, we're gonna go blow up that plane. It's it's not
Yeah,
great, but it's the closest thing to what you're talking about.
but I thought they were blowing up the plane so that no one could leave with the plane.
It was so Man in Black can't leave.
Yeah, but he wasn't trying to kill Men in Black
Yeah,
with the
it's that he's
bomb.
not trying to kill him, but he's still
He's
trying to
trying to
like
stop him
keep
from
him
leaving.
trapped.
Gotcha.
It's at least like, you know
In the
what I
realm
mean.
of doing the Jacob thing. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I got you.
Exactly. Yeah. Cause like maybe he knows he can't kill him. I don't know. I don't know what he
Mhm.
knows.
He doesn't know what he knows.
He doesn't seem to
Nobody
know
told him
either.
anything. Yeah. All right. Well, I think those are all the reasons that the episode could have been better.
It could have definitely been better. It wasn't the worst, but yeah,
Hmm.
you know, it was all right. It did its thing. Something happened. It's fine. I
Hmm.
did like the Sawyer scene, the first one especially.
Yeah.
I thought that was a fun scene. Um, and yeah, I mean, they can't all be good, right?
They cannot all be good, apparently. Not in this timeline. Awesome. Well, all right. We'll be back next time. And until then, thanks and namaste.
Namaste and good luck.